The world is divided into several parts. Middle-earth is inhabited by dragons, humans, and many other races. A demonic world where demons and monsters live, and the world of spirits where the dead live. The main character was a resident of the spirit world. After all, the spiritual world is a place where souls remain for some time after death. Although the concept of a resident does not exist here, the main character herself came up with it, because she's not going to reincarnate. Lady was the first victim in human history when civilization was just beginning. And it's still difficult to say to whom it was dedicated, because some say it was to heaven, but the gods did not accept the sacrifice. And dragons at that time had no contact with people. Perhaps you were young when you died, or it didn't make any sense, so she decided not to be reborn, so as not to be incarnated as a human again. Suddenly, the man screams about what happened because the experiment was successful. The girl thought about the pressure in her chest, and her body was very heavy. And at that time, she was surprised because she has a body, and she doesn't understand how to deal with it. Suddenly, a man's voice calls her doll and asks if something is bothering her. The girl opened her eyes and saw men in front of her, looking intently at her. The men don't understand why she is silent and say that this is a failure again, and they regret that a lot of money was spent. Suddenly, the girl asks for the doll, and when they heard this, they rejoiced, because at last she spoke. After all, this is their success, and they thank God for it. The man looks at the girl, claims that she has become a powerful doll that will not die. After all, the body was created by the workers of the magic tower, who devoted their entire lives to this work. The magician says that since it is impossible to grow a soul, they had to call a ready-made one and place it in the body. He claims that now the girl will be able to easily destroy even dragons, but only after the experiment with the transfer of abilities is successfully completed. Hearing this, the lady was surprised because she saw many people behind bars with a chain attached to their necks, and she saw that they were suffering. The magician assures the girl that she is not a person and invites her not to worry. Therefore, she will not feel pain. The man explains that her soul has powerful spiritual power, and therefore she is not afraid of shock, and her body is no less strong. The girl wonders if he wants to say that she will become a laboratory rat. The magician explains that she has no right to refuse, and there is not even such an opportunity. The lady with long hair asks if it's true, and she gets up to go. Suddenly, the men scream because they don't understand, because they haven't given her powers yet, and animals are walking with the young lady. The main character says that they did not lie because the body withstood it, and it is good. The chief magician orders to kill the lady as soon as possible. Seeing the men looking at her with horror, the girl says that they are green suckers, and thought that this is why she did not want to be reborn. The lady touches the dragon and tells them to destroy all these magicians. The bird quickly carried out the order, and in a few minutes the fire captured everyone. Several days have passed since the girl sits in the ruins of a destroyed tower. She thinks that breaking everything was nice, but now she doesn't understand what to do now. How many options does a lady have? And there is an opportunity to go anywhere, but she does not understand where. The girl thought that she terribly did not hate even the thought of living among people, and they are unlikely to accept the doll that they are getting old and not getting hurt. The main character thought that she wanted to return to the world of spirits, but in such a body, this is impossible. After all, you can break it as much as you like, but you will not achieve death, since this is the fate of the doll. Suddenly, the girl heard someone talking to her and asking if this girl was human. The main character looked at him and asked in surprise who he was. A man with black hair and 2 horns on his head announces that he is the lord of the demon kingdom, the demon king Cardell. The lady reports that his grandfather's name was Chester. However, the man claims that this is the name of his great-grandfather and asks in surprise how she knows about this. The girl explains that Chester boasted a lot about his grandchildren in the spirit world, and that's why she remembered him well. After all, a strange man who called himself an old man, although he was still a milksucker. The man with the horns asks again who she is. The girl thought that she was a resident of the spiritual world, who was summoned by force, and he says that she is a subject of research and it will take a long time to explain about it. The cardinal says that there is something strange around her and asks, could this be because of her research? The main character explains that these are just her abilities. The man says with delight that she looks strong. Upon hearing this, girl says that she is so strong that she cannot even die. Looking at her body, the lady thought that it was too strong. The gentleman says that he has a son. Ion koche, shtobi devushka stala ego dvoreckim. Odnako ona nie soglashecia. The man asks the lady if she knows that demons are born with one of three powers, and this can be the absorption of seduction or destruction. Carden explains that his son is the master of destruction. However, among the previous demon kings, none possessed such power. At this time, the main character thought that he was now showing off his child. After all, this is what was expected from a blood relative of Chester. The demon lord says that when this child becomes the demon king, he will have enough power to give her death. His words interested the lady, and she thought that she could return to the spiritual world, and asks if this is true. The man with horns assures her and says that if she is the butler, his son will remain until he gets the throne. The main character claims that she has been in the spirit world for too long and therefore does not particularly understand documents and does not know exactly what butlers do. Cardell suggests that she not worry, since she will have an assistant for the paperwork, and she only needs to protect her son and maintain discipline in the castle. Hearing this, the main character thought that since she would not have to deal with documents, and she wonders if that means she can have as many servants as she likes under stress. The main character thought that the little brat could send her back to the spiritual world, and invites the demon king to take care of her. And at this time, the spirit of another world tells the girl to take care of his grandson. Cardell says that his son's name is Julian. The girl replies that this is a beautiful name, and looking at him, she thought that he was speaking sincerely. And this game bore fruit. The butler Juliana, turning to the lady, says, "Welcome to the demonic castle." It's in a lady. A guy with white hair asks what race she is. The main character explains that she is a doll. However, he objects and says that the doll is not a race. The girl claims that she is just a doll. The guy looked at her in surprise, and after thinking a little about it, he agreed to record her as a doll. He asks the lady if he can find out her name. The main character replies that she has no name. Hearing this, the man was surprised because he did not know what he should write down. At this time, the lady thought that a lot of time had passed since then, and she had forgotten her human name. The butler does not understand how he should find out the girl's name and invites her to go to Mr. Julian. The guy explains to the lady that talking about awakening in the presence of the young master is prohibited, since the next stage has not happened for 200 years. After all, he was never able to become an adult. However, Lady doesn't understand what awakening is, and the butler asks her about it. He explains that all demons go through awakening 3 times. The first awakening occurs in infancy as one becomes a child. The second awakening leads to adulthood, and the third improves physical abilities. The butler explains that usually all stages occur within 100 years, but with strong demons it can take longer. The main character thought that then he would really be able to kill her. Suddenly, the butler looks at the girl and tells her that there is nothing to smile about. The lady thought about what it actually was. The guy claims that since she will become a personal butler, she needs to remember the names of the main servant and the main maid, and this is brother and sister Leon and Leah. He claims that she had good control over the two. The butler looked at the lady again and did not understand why she had such an awkward expression on her face. Walking down the corridor, the guy claims that she can address him as young master. Since before the second awakening, his mental age is 5 years, and he suggests to the girl to be careful. The main character asks the guy if she will need to babysit him. The guy answers and tells her not to worry, because the gentleman has a nanny and she will only need to be nearby. C. A boy with black hair with small horns on his head wonders who else it is. The butler explains to the boy that this is his new butler. He quietly turns to the girl and asks why she is standing and invites her to bow to the young master. The main character bows to the boy and tells him to take care of her. At this time, the palace reports that he has a lot of work to do, and for this reason he takes his leave. The butler's departure surprised the girl, since he left so suddenly, and she was left alone as a boy. The lady thought about how she had once dealt with a child, and therefore he understands a little. However, this is enough so that he does not cry. The doll saw that she had a leaf in the boy's hair, and spoke about this to the young master, and took these leaves from his head. Suddenly the boy screams and bites her hand. The girl was surprised, and thought about whether he was a demon or a dog. The young master, screaming that she should never dare to touch him. However, the girl reports that she cannot understand what he is talking about because his mouth is busy. The main character took her hand away from his mouth and invites him to say it again. After all, now she can understand him. The boy screams and says that he told her not to touch him. The lady assures that she does not touch him, since she only holds him by his clothes. The young master, screaming, says that she touched his hair and offers to let him go right away. The main character thought that he bit her before she touched him, and at that time, she let go of the boy, and he fell to the ground. The doll informs the gentleman that he asked to be released. The boy screams again and claims that it could have been done more gently. The lady thought that she had done everything as he asked, but still, the young master is unhappy. The lady smiled and thought that children are all so difficult. The main character again takes the boy, lifts him up, and he screams for her to let him go. The lady lowers the boy to the ground, but this time a little lower. However, he screams again and asks what she is doing. The girl explains to the boy that she placed him the way he asked her to. The doll touches his face and says he has soft cheeks and is cute. Suddenly the boy screams again and says that he said not to touch him. When the boy screamed, the main character felt an unpleasant feeling and she fell. However, after a few minutes, she stood up and thought that this was starting to annoy her. Looking at the lady, the little gentleman, screaming, asks because he doesn't understand why she didn't die. The lady replies that she is a doll and thought that this is exactly what she was told, that you can calm an angry, offended child. The main character came closer to the boy, leaned over and hugged him, and said that he was a good boy. She suddenly thought that since he was a demon, it would be better to call him bad. The lady, hugging the boy, says that their Julian is a very bad boy. Hearing this, the young master screams and says that he is not bad. The girl says that then he is their handsome young master who can calm down. If he doesn't do this, the gardener will cry. Julian claims that the gardener does not cry, because for this he will hide in a corner where no one can see. After all adults do this. The main character thought that the young master might tear her head off if she continued. However, she just wanted to touch his cheeks, and she thought that it was worth doing. However, the boy claims that he asked not to touch her. The girl explains that she has a bad memory, and that's why she forgot. The young master claims that he tore off her head, and he does not understand how this can be forgotten. The lady explains that it is all due to the shock of seeing the head rolling on the ground. She looked at the boy and said that he was so smart. Suddenly, the main character heard a scream about who she was. A woman with one horn on her head, screaming, asks how she dares to raise her head in front of the master. Julian explains to his nanny that this is his new butler. Let us hear that this woman was surprised and, screaming, said that she was his nanny and was hearing about this for the first time. She asks lady who sent her here and wonders if she is going to kill the young master. The main character thought that the position of a nanny was high enough to inform in advance about the appointment of a butler, and she understands that she needs to get along with her. The nanny, screaming, calls for the guards, and a few minutes later the demons appeared. The doll reports that she was told to establish discipline in the castle and wonders whether this concerned them or not. The main character calmed the demons with the help of her magical powers. The surprised butler, screaming, asks what is happening here, and screaming, he orders them to stop and stop. The girl explains that they were the first to start because she was just trying to bring discipline and order. The man claims that they are knights, but he controls the people who work inside the castle. Looking at the doll, the nanny thought in surprise that she was the new butler. The man confirms her words and says that she said everything correctly, because today this lady is the butler, Juliana, and he offers to take care of her. The main character looked at the knights and said that they were very weak. However, the blonde man assures her that she is simply incredibly strong, and this will be enough to destroy a small country in Middle-earth. The girl claims that strength and weakness are always relative. The butler belittles the girl so that she no longer bothers these monsters, since knights are a valuable resource. The man says that this is unfair because he needs to notify everyone about the new butler as quickly as possible so that this does not happen again. And with that, he takes his leave. The nanny, who fainted 5 minutes ago, came to her senses and, screaming, looked at the girl and asked for forgiveness. The main character understands the nanny and claims that there are no problems. Hearing this, the woman thanks her. Look at them. Julian asks the doll in surprise if she is a necromancer. The girl takes her monster in her hand, Iobiasniet, saying that these are not corpses. The young master always wants to touch the blue monster, and he jumps up, but nothing works out for him. Noticing the efforts of the young man, the doll took pity on him, took the magic bag into her hand, and invited the boy to touch it. Julian claims that this magic is cold. The main character explains that she is cold because she is a tokebi light. Suddenly, the light flew away, and the main character put her hand on the young master's head and thought that he was cute, and that's why she unconsciously. Suddenly, the doll felt her hand being grabbed by the nanny, who suggested that Julian return to the castle because it was time for nap time. The young master tells the nanny to let go of the lady's hand. Hearing this, she was very surprised. However, the young master repeats once again to let go of her hand. When the nanny released the lady's hand, she quickly touched the boy's cheeks. He asks in surprise what she is doing. The lady says that he asked to let go of her hand. However, he wonders why she is squeezing him. The doll explains that he's cute and just so he knows both her hands are there. Suddenly, the nanny screams for the butler to quickly remove his hands from the boy. However, the girl does not understand why and asks about it. At this time, the young master cut off two of the main character's hands with one glance. And at this time, the main character thought that this little guy was very temperamental. The doll folded its hand and said that it was the butler's hand, and it became crooked and asked if he could cut it off again. A week later, the main character from that day was always next to Julian. The lady thought that she even managed to reduce the frequency of attacks of aggression from 5 times a day to 1 or 2. The doll claims that she told him not to last while eating, and he asks if he knows how many times this wall has been repaired. The young master claims that he doesn't care and asks what the lady's name is. The girl explains that she has no name. Hearing this, Julian claims that if she continues to lie, he will definitely kill her. Hearing this, the main character thought that she was begging him to kill her. However, she explains that no one gave her a name, and he invites the boy to stop being angry and better let him open his mouth and say A. The young master is surprised and says that he didn't even give it to Henry. Hearing this, the lady asks who he is to give her a name. The boy wonders if his father gave her a name. The lady claims that the Demon King is not her parent. The young master asks if she has a dad and mom. The girl explains that they once were, and it was a very, very long time ago. And then they sold her as a sacrifice. Julian claims that then he can give her a name himself, because without a name, it is inconvenient to call her. The main character looked at the boy and said that she hopes for him. The young man claims that her eyes are like peridot, and so Julian asks the lady if he can call her Peri. The doll thought about the fact that peridot is called a gemstone. However, the boy claims that the gem is light green and looks like her eyes. The main character says that she has never seen herself in the mirror. Hearing this, the young master invites the doll to follow him. He took her hand, and she thought that the boy liked touch. However, after a while, he let go of her hand and, screaming, orders her to stomp faster. The main character thought that he grabbed it himself and got nervous. Entering Julian's room, the young gentleman begins to look for something among the jewelry, and after a while reports what he found. Putting a bracelet with precious stones on the doll's hand, he invites her to go to the mirror and look, since they are the same. At this time, the main character thought that he interrupted lunch to bring her here and show her this. I looked at myself in the mirror. The young lady saw wavy silver hair and porcelain skin and green eyes that sparkled in the light. The girl thought that they were so similar that it even seemed as if the magicians were inspired by Peridot when they created them, because they were trying to make a strong doll, and she doesn't understand why they should put so much effort into her appearance. The doll reports that her eyes and these stones are really similar, and Julian confirms her words, since he spoke about this earlier. The lady tells the boy that he is very observant. Julian invites the girl to take this bracelet with precious stones. However, the doll claims that she does not need this. The boy claims that this bracelet is expensive, and if she is given something, then she must take it. The main character thanked the young master. The king's son explains that she can give it to someone if she doesn't like it. Hearing this, the lady thought that this was not true and asked if she should return it. However, the boy claims that she did not take it off, and there is no need to return it. Suddenly, because of his scream, he cut off the doll's hand again. The lady invites the young master to speak in words, because removing the consequences of his aggression is very troublesome. Julian insists that she should just listen if he just talks. The doll agrees with him, and he asks why she doesn't listen when he says not to touch him. The lady explains that the young master is very nice. However, the boy says that everyone around him says that he is scary. Hearing this, the doll was surprised and said that this cannot be, since this is the first time she will produce such a cute child. Julian asks her what's good about this. The lady explains that he is so cute that she wants to always be near him and protect him. However, the young master doesn't understand what's wrong, because sooner or later they will all die anyway. The doll says that she will not die, and no matter what the young master does, she will not die. The girl touches the boy's face again. Julian thought that Peri would always be there and ask her about it. and the main character confirms his words. And he thinks that everything will change when he becomes the king of demons. Suddenly, the boy asks Lady if this is a lie, and he claims that he will kill her and says let her know about it. At this time, the doll thought that he himself was giving her away to die. However, if she disappears after he becomes king and wonders if he will come and kill her, suddenly the doll saw that something was wrong with the young master and asked if he had wet himself. Hearing this, the boy objects with a cry and says no, and the lady asks again if he took a shit. The young master, crying out, asks if she takes him for a child. The main character thought that he was a child. However, he cannot tell him about this because he is unlikely to hear it. At this time, the butler saw the nanny standing outside the young master's door and asked what she was doing here. Nanny says that the young master is still sleeping and breakfast with the Demon King is ready. Hearing this, the doll opens the door and tells the young master to get up. She quickly removes the blanket from him. At this time, the boy angrily offers to let her go. Looking at him, the main character thought that he was a dog or a puppy flying out, and realized that he was still small. Suddenly, the girl takes the boy in her arms and then puts him on the bed and asks if he woke up. The child says she is a fool. The doll says her name is Perry, and he gave her that name himself. Hearing this, the boy screams that he knows about it. The girl says thank God because he has no memory problems. The nanny brought a bowl of water and a doll, saying that they don't need to drink. The nanny explains that this water is for washing. The girl washes the boy's face and squeezes his cheeks again. At this time, the boy screams that he hates her. The lady thought that she was sure because she had washed the boy well, but he continued to scream, and this little thing could lose consciousness from high pressure. The main character suggests that Julian raise his voice no more than 3 times a day. Hearing this, the boy asks what these other conditions are. She thought about maybe just being worried. The nanny says that it's time for breakfast and they need to get ready quickly. Getting out of bed, the boy slowly tries to button his shirt. The main character says that the young master might be late at this rate and helps him get ready. Suddenly, the boy screams and says what he told her not to touch. However, the lady invites him to just stand still. IV et ovremia, she felt that her hand had been cut off again. The doll offers Julian to go through awakenings faster, and so that he doesn't have to do this. Hearing this, the nanny tells the butler that this cannot be discussed. Julian asks the lady if she will not touch him if there is an awakening. She replies that, of course, and explains that then he will handle everything himself. The girl looked at the nanny and thought that she burst into tears and probably didn't help her somehow. Suddenly, the nanny hugs the doll and says that she could not even think that this day would come and is simply delighted with it. The woman says that the young master opened his heart to someone, and after all, she is already the 7th nanny, and thank God they have such a butler. Hearing this, the young master says that he did not open anything and invites the nanny to step away from the flight. He insists that he doesn't even like him touching her. The boy explains that he simply doesn't like it when demons touch others first and then him. However, the doll explains that she is not a demon. Julian, using his magic, asks the lady if she will die like this. However, the doll's hair shakes out a bit and she claims that she won't die. The main character invites the boy to believe that she cannot die and invites him not to spoil her clothes anymore. The lady thought that recently Julian had not rejected her touches, but always attacked when he had the chance. And every time she didn't die, he spoke strangely. The girl claims that she is a doll and invites him to quickly sit on a chair so that she can do his hair. The boy again wonders if the doll can die. Seeing them, the nanny says that initially these are her duties. However, the lady assures that nothing bad happened. The girl says thank God they have him as a young master who looks dazzling. Hearing this, the boy asks her to shut up. The nanny says that with the appearance of the butler, she can breathe a sigh of relief, and the doll agrees with her. However, the young master looked at them and invites the nanny to let go of the lady's hands, and she did it at that very moment. The doll took the boy under the muscles and asks him if he's uncomfortable and maybe let him go. Julian remembers the last time he fell and was in pain and screaming says just try. The nanny, turning to the butler, says that the young master cannot be carried like that. She says that you need to wear it hugging him like that. However, the woman realizes that she is not understood, and she grabs the guy and takes her in his arms and shows her how to do it. The doll looked at them and took the young master in the same way. And she thought that it looked ridiculous because one hand was free, but she had to hold it with both, and it was uncomfortable for her to do it. The nanny claims that nothing can be done since the doll cannot walk around with the young master like that in front of his friends. Hearing this, the main character was surprised because she did not know that Julian had friends. The main character looked at the boy and asked that they were not corpses yet. However, the boy objects and says that he has friends. However, he doesn't like them, but he must be friends with them. The lady wonders why he calls them friends then, and the boy does not understand what he should answer. The girl on the sand sent words and invited the boy to look at them. She asks if he likes his friends. However, the young master objects and says no. The doll asks if he is having fun with them. The young man says again, no. The lady wonders if they help each other. Julian says no. Hearing these answers, the doll says that then these are not friends. Julian explains that he helped them, and that's why they started calling him friend. Hearing this, the main character explains that this is called a useful idiot. Suddenly, the nanny screams and asks how she can say such vulgar words to the young master, and she doesn't understand what that means. The doll explains that he is a fool who gives everything to others, but receives nothing in return. Suddenly, the young master, screaming, turns to the butler and says that he is not stupid. The doll agrees with him and says that their young master is very smart, and she had never seen a demon smarter than him. Look at her. The main character thought that she was lying as if she were breathing. The doll turns to the nanny and says that if she lies, a horn will grow. The woman replies that she is not lying, and yet she already has a horn. Sitting at the table, Nanny looked at the young master and thought that he should not eat with his hands. At this time, the doll also looked at the young master and thought that he was cute, and it didn't matter to her how he eats. The main character offers to eat it. Feeling the taste of the food, the young gentleman screams that she slipped him broccoli, and the lady says that he has an excellent sense of taste. The boy asks the doll if it wants to die, and screaming, he claims that he will not eat broccoli. The girl looked at the young master and asked if he wanted to become an idiot, because his health and mind are deteriorating greatly, and if he refuses, there is everything. Julian says that she is lying all the time, and he does not understand how health and stupidity are connected. The lady explains that the brain also feels bad when it feels bad too. Suddenly, the nanny confirms her words, and he says that nothing can be done since the young master threw the broccoli on the floor and took the path of stupidity. The main character is interested because she doesn't know what they will do when he becomes an idiot. Julian heard this and orders the servants to quickly bring him broccoli. However, a little is just a little, because he wants to eat it. While eating broccoli, the young master says that it is not tasty, and the girl suggests that he consider this a medicine for a pure mind. And after a few minutes, he reports that he ate everything. The doll congratulates him as he has become a smart young master today. Hearing this, the boy was surprised because he does not understand what about tomorrow. The lady claims that tomorrow he can also be smart, and if he eats everything, and not selectively. However, Julian claims that he is already smart. However, the lady does not agree with him and explains that just recently he called demons friends who are not them. Because it's better now, and if he eats right, he will become the smartest. Hearing this, boy claim that he will eat tomorrow. The main character praises him and says that he is a good boy who made a great choice. The doll strokes his head again, and the boy screams for her not to do this. Suddenly, the young master announces that he is going to write a letter. The main character thought that he was very cute, and she needed to ask Henry to call the artist. Watching Julian write a letter, the main character thought that she had never learned letters. However, she could read them. The lady thought that for some reason communication was easy, as was reading and writing. When she was a human, there were no even concepts of letters. She thought that perhaps some kind of magic was cast on the doll's body, and he understands that life is easier this way. The girl thought that if I summed up everything that Julian wrote, it would turn out to be something like, "I'll kill you." The boy asks the girl for advice, what it was called, and if she knows. He explains what it is like when the arms and legs are separate. The lady explains that when the legs and arms are separate, it can be written on, the limbs can be torn off. The young master agrees with her and writes about it. The main character does not understand why he does this, but he has a good vocabulary. The boy offers to read the letter and claims that he wrote everything and didn't make a mistake anywhere. The lady and the nanny read the letter, which says that he will cut off and throw her fingers to the monsters. Having read this, the nanny screams, turning to the master, and claims that this is impossible. And since she is his nanny, and therefore cannot allow such words to be used. Julian claims that everything is fine and he will send it to Leff. The nanny claims that Mr. Leff cannot be sent such letters, since such letters are not written to friends. The young master claims that he is not his friend. And at this time, the main character wonders who Lef is. The boy explains that the one who talks to him is like a fool. At this time, the main character understands Akem the speech because he is a fake friend with whom he was not interested in spending time and who did not value him in anything. The girl, turning to the young master, invites him to correct the mistake. Because the content is too monotonous, and it is better to intimidate in a more colorful and similar way. Usli shav eto yunyi, usli shav eto, the young master was surprised and asked how it was. The main character explains that since he wrote about tearing out limbs, we can also add that after this, he will tear out his tongue. However, the nanny suddenly screams, turning to the butler Perry, and claims that this is impossible because she must stop the young master and not prompt him. The doll explains to the boy that if he uses idioms too literally, they will not be effective and invites him to use his imagination. The boy wrote a few lines and asked if it was okay. The lady says that it has become shorter but brighter in content, and that will do. The nanny desperately asks if he really sent it. She turns to the butler Perry and says that young Mr. Lef is the son of the Duke and it was necessary to stop their master. Having heard this, the main character says that one cannot avoid a fight if it suggests itself. However, the nanny objects and says that no one asked for it, and it is their young master who is now provoking conflict. The nanny is worried that Lef Motset Ubit might kill their master, who didn't even go through awakening. Suddenly the nanny looked at the boy, who was very angry that even the light around him turned red. The woman explains to them and the gentleman that this is not what she wanted to say. The doll asks if Mr. Lef has awakened yet. However, the nanny claims that it is better not to talk about it now. And at that time, the girl thought that she herself had started it. Julian explains that Lef fully awakened 100 years ago and is now an adult. The girl wonders if it means that he is stronger than him. However, the boy explains that he is stronger and even very stronger than him. However, the nanny claims that it won't end that easily. And the doll offers to simply kill him because she is worried that the Duke's son will kill their master. The nanny explains that this is so, but the lady seems to have little understanding of the structure of the world, and she will explain. After all, their master is the son of the Demon King, and she asks if the girl knows why they call him Prince. Lady tell me she's never heard of this. The woman explains that, unlike in the human world, the position of Demon King is not inherited, and if at some point a stronger demon appears and kills their king, he will take the throne. Nanny says that is why the young master, who has not yet tried, he has become the target of many high-ranking demons. She quietly says that he has not awakened for so long, and this means that a truly enormous power is arising in him, and they want to get rid of him while he is weak. The woman claims that it is natural since the Demon King protects the young master and even introduced such a strong butler to him. However, now the Duke can try to attack, and they can still catch up with the letter. The doll claims that she understood. The doll, addressing the young master, says that now she will always be by his side. She says that only the weak close their eyes when they are taken for fools. Since the young master is strong, he must finish him off. The boy asks in surprise how the butler is. However, the lady assures him that she will deal with any surprises, and she will do this if he lets her. The girl touches his hair again and asks if he will allow it. In fact, protecting Julian was originally the job of the main character, but he does not like being touched by other demons, and so the 5-year-old child is forced to wash, eat, and sleep alone. Julian, who unashamedly admits how strong the main character is, would even stop taking ordinary guards with him. Emu Moshet bite. It is difficult to bear the fact that someone is protecting him, and therefore the lady specifically asked for permission for the sake of the child, who is strong and weak at the same time. Julian claims that he is very strong and can tear even Lef apart, but he allows the lady to help him so that he does not look stupid. Nanny says that then she will tell the Demon King about this and ask for the guards to be returned. Hearing this, the young master objects and tells her not to do this. The boy turns to Perry and claims that he is not that weak. The doll thanks him for letting her. At this time, a servant brought a letter to the king, and Cardell says that he decided to check the letter that his son wrote because this hasn't happened for a long time. Reading the letter, the king says that who would have thought that it would end up with threats. However, he noticed that Julian's vocabulary was well enriched. The servant says that he heard that Perry helped him. However, the king was surprised because he did not think that the doll could know so much. He offers the service to send a letter, as it is. The butler claims that this letter may give the Duke cause to act. However, the king claims that a little fight between the children can help his son get stronger. The servant asks the king which human country is moderately dangerous, because the kingdom of Soden is said to have developed skills in countering demons, and they have stronger troops. However, the borders come into contact with the world of demons. The king heard this and proposes to start a war with them and punish them. Leon claims that troops will not move forward without a reason. However, they need help with this. The king explains that then it is necessary to ensure that the kingdom starts the war first. Since they deal with them well, they may have poison that is destructive to demons, and he's the ticket to get it. And therefore, all traces will lead to the kingdom of Soden. Cardell says that it is enough to spread it on the Duke's land, since about a third of the population needs to be destroyed. Leon agrees to send someone to carry out this task. The butler explains to the king that if the Duke can successfully conquer the kingdom, this will free his hands even more. The Demon King was thinking at this time that then none of them should win. Cardell thinks that he can do much more and anything to protect his son. At this time, the nanny explains to the doll that this is called a cool twirl, and this is catch-up, this is hide and seek. The girl thought that any games of demons, the same age as the young master. The nanny reports that she diligently wrote down everything in case the young master could play with anyone. The doll asks if this is the nanny's wish list. Hearing this, the woman screams because she does not understand what it is about. She says that she is just incredibly interested in what the expression on the face of the amused young master will be. The woman says that in any case she will not be able to keep up with him, and therefore offers the doll to do it for her. The main character says that she will do a great job and calls the young master. The doll says that the first item on the nanny's wish list is twirling. She takes the boy and begins to twist him, and at this time he screams and says that he might throw up. The butler saw this and asks the doll what it is doing. The girl replies that she is playing a game of twirling, and at that time, the lady looked at the boy and thought that she might have done something wrong, because after that, the boy vomited. The nanny asks the doll who does this, and she claims that she is not mixing a cocktail. After all, lifting a child and shaking him up and down is the same. The doll read the second paragraph, which was called Higher Higher, and she thought about picking up the child and throwing it up and then catching it. She remembers that she did this before, when Juliana was there. The lady took the child and threw him up the mountain, and he flew up very high. And after that she caught him, and the young master orders him to stop because once is enough for him. Seeing all this, the nanny screams that it is too high, and the young master is not a ball to throw it wrong. The doll explains that it wasn't particularly strong. However, the nanny says that if she were the young master, she would have already burst into tears. The nanny invites the gentleman to play catch-up, and if he agrees, she will give him a chocolate cookie. Hearing this, the boy reports that Perry is driving and tells everyone to get ready. The doll thought that the third item on the nanny's wish list was catching up, and the girl caught up with the boy in a second. Seeing this, the nanny claims that she needed to adapt to the young master's speed and not immediately start catching. The girl says that she understood everything and offers again. However, the boy objects and says that he will not play because it is boring. The main character asks him if games for children are so difficult. However, the boy claims that Perry can't do anything. The nanny offers to play hide and seek one last time. The young master claims that he doesn't want something strange again because they need to be able to play, and he should get pleasure from the games. However, the woman with one horn claims that she will explain everything in advance, and therefore it will be fun. The nanny suggests closing your eyes and counting to 50. And since the estate is quite large, they should limit themselves to just the garden. They played the game rock, paper, scissors, and in the end, the young master drives, and the nanny and the doll hide. The woman claims that the gentleman must find them. The boy began to count, and the main character thought that there was not much space in the garden to hide. When the young master has counted to the end, he says that he is going to look for it, because the fourth item on the nanny's wish list is hide and seek. After walking a little through the garden, Julian saw that the nanny was hiding behind a column, and he tells her that he found her. The woman with one horn says that she is surprised that the young master found her so quickly, and she doesn't understand how he did it because she hid herself well. The young master claims that he just has to find Perry, and the nanny offers to help him. Suddenly, the boy is happy to announce that he has found Perry. When the doll comes out of the bushes, He asks if she is okay, and at that time the nanny slips and falls to the ground. The woman with one horn severely scolded the main character when she woke up. The nanny also brought a huge number of books on raising children and so on, and she said that the doll needed to learn more about demons. The young master saw a bunch of books and asked what they were. The lady explains that the nanny brought these books. The boy, surprised, asks Perry if she was punished, and she replies that it seems like it. The main character invites the boy to ignore the books and just go to bed. However, he says he can't sleep. The girl asks if she should sing him a lullaby. Hearing this, the boy asks if she knows. The lady says that she only knows the lyrics and the melody can just be made up. When Perry began to sing, and the young master, screaming, asked her to wait, because he changed his mind and already wants to sleep. After some time, the lady heard Julian's even breathing. In the master's room, the Tokabi light flies around and catches the illegal ones so that they do not disturb the young master's sleep. And at this time, a light breeze blows through the open window, because for the first time in a long time, there was a peaceful atmosphere in the castle. At this time, the main character thought that she could read books about education that her nanny gave her. Suddenly, the boy calls her, and she asks why he is still awake. The young master explains that he was sleeping, but woke up. The lady says it's still night and it's early to get up. However, the boy objects and says that he no longer wants to sleep. Perry asks Julian if he should read a book. He replies that it looks boring and suggests reading another book called The Adventures of the Princess and the Knight, which begins every night. The main character thought that this book had an intriguing title. Because the princess knows how to use a sword, Perry began reading a book about how, long ago, there lived a beautiful princess. And one day, a prince came to her. Ladies say this story is about a beautiful princess who was bullied and the knight who loves her. After all, she thought it was an ordinary fairy tale. However, it was only after 10 pages that she began to realize that something was wrong with the book. The lady reads that late at night, a knight entered the room where the princess was sleeping, and when the knight's lips touched the princess's forehead, they merged. Hearing this, the boy's eyes widened as he was curious about what would be given. However, Perry suddenly closes the book because she thought that the adventures turned out to be for adults. The surprised boy asks if she is sleeping because he does not understand why she stopped reading so suddenly. The girl explains that this book is not for children. However, upon hearing this, Julian screams that he is not a child, and the lady objects to him, saying that he is a child because he cried today. The main character says that she only honors Juliana when he becomes taller than her. The young master explains that he will only become taller after waking up. Heard this lady say that he needs to wake up. When the doll left the master's room, it saw the nanny, and he angrily asks her what kind of book this is. The woman with one horn asks the lady if she has read such a sensitive novel. However, the doll asks her why she gave her this incredible book. Nanny explains that if she wants to know demons, then it is useful for her to know this. Moreover, this novel is a bestseller in the demonic world. She says that this novel was written by the same author, and it is very good. Julian tells the nanny about the book that Perry read to him yesterday, and after starting to read it, she suddenly stopped and said that this book was not for children. The boy says that he wonders what adventures they have there every night. The nanny answers that every night you need to sleep and say that there are no adventures at night. The main character invites the woman with one horn to take all these books, and she turns to the young master and says that it is time for him to get up. However, the boy objects and asks to sleep a little more. Hearing this, the doll picks him up and throws him into the ceiling, then catches him and asks him if he is awake. After this, Julian hugs the girl, and she thought that the boy got used to it and is no longer irritated. The young master asks the lady what he should do to become an adult. However, Perry replies that she doesn't know. Hearing this, the boy was surprised why she didn't know, because she was an adult. The doll thought that she died as a human almost in childhood. And in the spiritual world, age is not considered, and she lives as a doll for only a few months. Perry says that she is not an adult, she is only 2 months old. Hearing this, the boy says that then she is younger than him, and the lady agrees with him. However, Julian does not understand why she is an adult then, and after all, the book she read was only for adults. The boy says that since he has not grown up yet and also wants to be an adult. Hearing this, the main character thought that it was unlikely that he would be able to say anything if he woke up and realized what book she had not read to him. Perry claims that she will not read this book even if he becomes an adult, And the boy asks in surprise why. The lady claims that then he will be very embarrassed. However, Julian does not understand what the word awkward means. And the girl explains that it's the same thing as shame. The young master says that he feels embarrassed now. And the lady wonders why. Julian claims that all his friends have grown up and they are embarrassed by him, and therefore do not come to play anymore. Hearing this, the main character thought that the matter was about that son, Duke Ralph, and she turns to the young master and says that he does not need to be ashamed of the fact that he is still a child. After all, these guys are just fake friends. Julian asks in surprise whether friends can be fake. Perry explains that in difficult moments they disappear on their own, like now. Hearing this, the boy says that he has no friends and asks if he is a loser. The main character says that he is mistaken, since he even wrote a letter of challenge recently. However, the guy claims that this will not make friends. The girl advises the boy to become a little kinder. However, hearing this, the boy, screaming, says that he is kind. The doll explains that good demons don't kill anyone just like that. And the boy asks if he is bad, and he wonders if maybe that is why he has no friends. And the lady agrees with him. However, Julian says that Lef has friends, and the girl explains that he must have a good side. The young master asks Lady what is his good side. She replies that the boy is very cute. The main character thought that sometimes he takes it out on her quite often. However, she doesn't see anything wrong with this, because the young master is very cute. Julian is a demon who will send Perry back to the spirit world, and that's why she likes him too, but she decides to remain silent about it. The young master asks the nanny where Perry has gone. The woman explains that the butler, Henry, called her, and today she will stay with him and entertain him, and therefore suggests that the young master not worry. Hearing this, Julian sadly reports that it is not necessary, and at that time the nanny tries to convince him, but the boy angrily says that he will not repeat it twice. The woman with one horn thought that with Perry's appearance, the young master became more in keeping with his age. But initially he was like this, and is silent almost all the time. Explodes with rage if anyone touches him. Julian asks the nanny if he is cute. The woman replies that, of course, the young master is very strong and sweet. The young master wonders if she will say that if he rips her head off. The nanny heard this and fell silent. And at this time the boy thought that Perry was strange, because at the first meeting they didn't even really talk, because he tore off her heads. He screamed and tore out his anger, tearing his arms and legs. But she behaved absolutely calmly, as if it were a minor nuisance. Yulia Yan thought that all this was due to the fact that his butler was a doll. He tells the nanny to tell her everything she knows about Perry. The woman replies that a simple nanny cannot know much about the butler. However, the boy claims that he knows that she reports to Henry. He screams with anger and tells the nanny to speak. The nanny, sealed with anger, asks the boy to let her go first. However, the young master claims that she does not need arms and legs to speak. The woman, screaming, says that she will tell everything. The nanny says that the butler Perry is a doll made by human magicians, and she doesn't know what the reason is, but she is different and came here, having concluded some kind of agreement with the Demon King. Hearing this, the young master let the woman go, and she asks him if he suspects the doll of something. The young master replies no. Hearing this, the nanny does not understand why, and the boy says that he doesn't know when Perry will leave him. Julian thought that Perry made strange expressions from time to time, and such a blank expression, as if she was ready to disappear at any moment. The boy thought about an agreement with Cardell. After all, if he helps her instead of him, then the lady will stay with him. However, Julian doesn't know what Perry wants since she keeps saying that he's cute. The young master thought that it was better for him to behave the way she wanted, and he needs to be nice or kind. Julian asked the nanny not to tell Perry about today, and he remembers what she said to become kinder, and he will start with that. The boy says that he is a kind child. At this time, the doll walks along the corridor and does not understand why they called her when she was busy. Because all this can be asked from the nanny, after all, she is not a mongrel that she is training. The main character knocks on the door and informs the young master that she is entering. When the lady opened the door, she was greeted by a boy, and she was surprised because she did not understand why he was so friendly. The lady asks the young master if he is smiling now and whether she thinks he is. At this time, the boy nodded his head and smiled, and the girl thought that she had goosebumps, since it was her first time seeing this. Perry Posmatrela looked at him and thought that he was a cutie, because he is always cute, and when he smiles, he completely becomes an angel. The main character suggests that the boy seems to be sick with something because he usually doesn't behave like that. She takes him in her arms and asks for forgiveness for this. The lady, holding the boy in her arms, enters the chief butler's office and reports, screaming that they are in trouble. Henry asks the lady what's wrong since he doesn't understand. The girl reports that the gentleman is sick. Looking at the young master, the butler says that he thinks the boy is fine. However, the lady offers to look at the boy, and at that time he smiled. Seeing him, the butler, screaming, says that this cannot be. He quickly runs out of the room and says that he himself will call Mr. and invites them to wait a little. Left alone in the room, Julian asks Perry if he isn't cute. The main character asks the young master why he is, but before he can finish speaking, an unfamiliar man suddenly jumps into my room through the window. The Demon King explains that he came here because he was told that the boy was smiling, but seeing a dead man on the floor, he asks if someone can explain what this all means. The lady asks the thief if he has forgotten how to use his mouth and if he is going to talk. Cardell, seeing that the woman, with the help of her magic, dealt with the thieves, says that there is no need to explain to him. The king thought that the killers who entered his castle were still completely green. He grabbed one of them and noticed that he had a capsule of poison in his mouth. The Lord of the Demon Realm says that this will no longer make it possible for them to find out who is behind all this. He orders the survivors to be placed in prison and the dead to be disposed of. The surprised main character asks if this can be entrusted to the servants, and because she found another capsule, the butler says that the castle servants are as strong as the knights, but they cannot compare with them. At this time, Perry noticed how the female servants quickly dealt with these dead men, and yet they look pretty strong. Suddenly, the main character felt someone pulling her. She saw the young gentleman and asked what it was. Julian spread his arms and invites the girl to hug him. The young lady shows him her hands again and tells him that they are dirty because she was holding one of those bastards and there might be poison on her too. Hearing this, the boy objects and says that he will not die from this and therefore again invites the girl to hug him. Suddenly, he huddled on her neck and hugged her very tightly. Seeing this, the girl was surprised and asked if he was scared. Julian reports that he was scared because he thought that Perry might die, and after these words, he began to hug the girl even tighter. And at that time, the young gentleman imagined a cut-up doll. And from this thought, he even screamed a little. When he saw the boy in the lady's arms, the Demon King Cardell said that he somehow couldn't raise his son, and the butler says that he thinks it's sadness for his mother. The king asks the butler if it would be better to have a male butler. Hearing this, the young master claims that Perry is not his mother, and the father answers the boy that he knows this. Julian is afraid of losing the lady, and screaming, says that Perry is his only and no one else's. The butler was surprised when he heard this, and at that time, the main character thought that they shouldn't look at her because she didn't do anything like that. The young master looks at the lady and asks if he said it right, because Perry is only his. However, the lady replies that she belongs only to herself. Suddenly, the butler says that even if it is not Mrs. Perry, it definitely belongs to him, the young master, and asks how about this. And at this time, the father tells you that he is also his. However, Julian looked at them and, screaming, said that he did not want to. And at this time, the father says that he is in pain, and the butler says that he is too. Henry suggests that the lady simply say that she belongs to the young master. The main character thought that this was not her responsibility, and she did not understand why she should say this. And at this time, the boy hugs her even more. The girl thought about who she was to say such a thing, and even if he has lived 100 years, he is still a child who says such things to a person at whose hands he is going to die. Cardell, addressing the boy, says that his butler already belongs to him, and therefore invites him to stop sulking. The main character does not understand why he decides who she belongs to. However, when he heard his father's words, the boy was very happy, and he smiled from ear to ear. Looking at his son, the father was convinced that he was really smiling, and his words are confirmed by the butler. Having looked at them, the gentleman proposes to establish a memorable date, and the butler supports him, says that this is a good idea. At this time, the girl turns to the young master and thought about what she needs to tell him about the fact that she does not belong to him in the future. However, looking at him and seeing the smiling face of the lady, she does not dare to say about it. Julian claims that Perry is his, and therefore asks the girl not to die for anything. He asks the lady if she understood him. The main character still decides to tell the boy, but looking at his happy face, she says that he is a good young master. The lady agrees with him and says, let it be the way he wants it. Walking down the corridor with the head butler, the lady wonders where they are going. Heinrich explains that they are going to interrogate the killers whom she neutralized earlier. Hearing this, the lady asks if this is her job too. The butler explains that yes, because they were trying to finish off the young master. The girl thought about how not to look, but they obviously came for Julian, because few people know A. The lady reflects on the fact that these men tried to finish her off so as not to leave witnesses. And she remembers the surprised expression on one of them's face, which was funny. The main character thought that even she did not know how she would die, and even more so, how they could know about it. Upon entering the room, the butler invites the lady to cover her nose. However, she says everything is fine. After a while, she felt the smell of rusty iron and blood and the rotting stench of flesh that filled her nostrils. The girl understands that because of the doll's body, she does not care about such things, and she asks if these people are still alive. The butler explains that several have not even been touched, but the rest are not dead, but they can hardly be called alive. The main character looked at their bodies and thought that they looked closer to dead. Approaching the other end of the room, the butler shows the lady behind bars of people and says that it is them. And they managed to find out that they had come specifically for young Mr. No, but they wanted to find out who these people were working for. Heinrich asks the doll if it can torture. The girl replies that she has no idea, but she can try now. The main character asks the butler Henry if he believes in the existence of the soul, and a tokabi light appeared near her hand. The girl explains that whether it is a person or a demon, a bird or a tree, every living thing has a soul, because initially the soul naturally moves away from the body after death. The lady says that the same applies to the tokabi lights that she summons and materializes. After all, these are also souls. The doll is interested in the question of what will happen to creatures who die with a feeling of resentment. Suddenly, a cry for help was heard in the murderer's room. The main character thought that they were asking for salvation because these were the souls of those who died at their hands, and she understands that they didn't look like this in life. The girl claims that today they cannot die, and she will make them pay for attacking Julian. The next morning, the young master woke up and asked the lady where she went. The girl replies that she went to the dungeon and says that he woke up early. Hearing this, the boy was surprised and asked why she went there. The lady explains that she needed to punish the bad guys, and at this time, she says that she suggested taking them away one by one and interrogating them. Hearing this, the butler says that she has opened a new chapter in torture. Suddenly, the nanny asks the lady in surprise if she went to finish someone off. However, she objects and claims that she did not do this. Hearing the nanny's answer seems strange, since she does not understand where such a strong smell of blood came from. At this time, the girl smelled her hair and thought that it was not pleasant enough. The main character turns to Julian and says that he can wash himself and go to breakfast. After all, this is the time she must change clothes, and after that join them. Hearing this, the young master objects and says that he does not want to, and claims that he will wait for the lady. The girl says that if he is very hungry and invites him to eat first, and the young master agrees with her. Walking to her room, the main character thought that since she knows Julian's character and assumes that he will be waiting for her, the lady understands that recently they have not been apart even for an hour, and she hadn't had a moment of solitude for a long time. After all, she was so used to it. The girl understands that she cannot get close to Julian, since she will go to the spirit world when he grows up. Suddenly, the girl felt that someone grabbed her shoulder, and she hears a man's voice who says that they have finally met. Looking at the guy, the lady asks who he is. The blonde man asks in surprise if she knows him because she wasn't even surprised. An unfamiliar guy grabs the girl by the hand and then hugs her and claims that he knows her. He asks lady if he can address her by her name. The main character objects and asks who he is because she is seeing him for the first time. The girl says that she is the butler of the Demon King and claims that it is impossible to use power so carefully. However, the guy is surprised and reports that she just threw it away. And at this time, the main character thought that her puppy would be very hungry and where if she didn't come right away. A blonde guy asks a lady if she feels absolutely nothing, and it could be heart palpitations or something similar. However, the girl replies that she doesn't feel anything like that. Hearing this, the guy smiled and asked the lady if maybe she likes girls. Suddenly, the main character saw a girl who said that she could please by any means. After looking at all this, the main character does not understand who it is, and she thinks that maybe she should cut them out, and although they may be aristocrats, then she will start having problems. An unfamiliar girl comes closer to the main character and tells her that she likes her, and asks if she can call her by her name. The main character objects and says no, and at this time she thinks that she should deal with them first, and only after that think. The lady approaches strangers and grabs their necks with her hands. Suddenly the butler enters the room and asks the lady what she is doing. However, the girl does not understand what he wants from her and asks who these demons are. Henry invites the lady to let them go, and only after that can they talk. The butler shows Perry the paper and tells him that he has received a confession. He claims that all three are saying the same thing. Suddenly, Heinrich turns around and looks at the guy and the girl. He kicks the guy in the chest with all his might, and he falls. The butler says that these are the main servants and maids he mentioned earlier. Their names are Leon and Leah. Perry talks about how this is the first time she's seen them and asks if they even worked. Heinrich claims that their main occupation is dealing with incursions. Hello. At this time, the girl realizes that they were not working, and since she was interested, she asks what they were doing when the killers entered the castle. Leon explains that he does his job well, but some demonic beast stole everyone before him. Having heard this butler says that what he was doing now is much more important. Leah says that Perry the butler is a lovely lady, and her brother says that eating people's dinner every day gets boring because he was going to try a special food. Hearing this, the head butler pushes the guy again and he falls to the floor. The main character, reading a report, calls the demonic Duke of Zerka. Hearing this, the Duke asks if she knows him. The lady thinks that if we are talking about Lef, then the young gentleman once wrote a letter with threats. Henry claims that Lef is the only son of the Duke of Zerk, and the girl explains that then this Duke targeted the young master. And because now he doesn't have time for this, because the inhabitants of his territory are dying. The lady thought that everything turned out this way because of that letter, and she felt strange. After all, it's more like the Duke was trying to scare the young master because he couldn't finish him off. The main character says that it looks very cowardly, and the head butler asks her if she is talking about Lef, and the girl agrees with him. Cheetah. I report the doll thinks that she doesn't have the courage to challenge directly, and that's why she does such ratty things. Because he hired assassins to stab Julian in the back. The girl looked at the main servants and asks the butler how strong they are, and she wonders if they are capable of defeating Duke Lef. Leon looked at her and wondered how long he could stand here. The butler talks about how he doesn't know if they will defeat him. However, he claims that the main servants are quite powerful. Henry turns to his brother and sister and says that from now on, they will be responsible for the protection of the young master. Hearing this, the main character explains that she doesn't care, but as long as he's around, there's no need for them, and she invites the servants to follow her. When the young master saw that the main servants had entered his room, to ego srazu to ego, he was immediately interested in what they had forgotten here. The lady announces that they will be walking with them. Hearing this, Julian objects and says that he does not want this. However, Leon and Leia assure the young master that they will remain invisible and only follow him. They claim that they will hide in his shadow. Hearing this, the young master orders them to immediately disappear from his sight. Looking at the boy's reaction, the main character does not understand why he reacts so sharply. She asks him if he is hungry. However, the boy answers Chto no. Hearing this, the nanny asks why he is lying, since she clearly heard the young master's stomach growling. However, the boy answered, screaming, that this had never happened. The girl says, turning to Julian, that she understands, because he is hungry, and asks how about writing one letter before eating. Hearing this, the boy does not understand what is being said. The main character explains that those killers, as it turned out, were sent by Duke Lef, and she asks if Julian wants to miss a blow from him. The lady offers pen and paper and argues about striking first. A few minutes later, the young master reports that he has written everything, and he invites the girl to look. Leon asks the lady if it is possible to send something like this, because everyone is trying so hard to hide that the young master was attacked. However, the boy replies that he did not write anything about the attack. The head servant says that something bad happened, and that's why the young master missed his old friend. And this is obvious, since he will immediately guess everything. Hearing this, the main character thought that it would be strange if he didn't guess, because that's what they wrote for. The girl thought that demons go through 3 stages of awakening. After all demon children must go through their first awakenings in order for you to release demonic energy. After the second awakening, you can use magic, and the third makes the body complete. On average, aristocrats take 100 years to go through all the stages. Having sealed it in the letter, the lady thought that the stronger the demon, the faster the demonic energy is generated. And because of this, awakening may be delayed. The main character understands that here in the world of demons, where status is determined by strength, there is nothing more dangerous than this. And the reason why Julian is still fine is most likely because Cardell's abilities are great. Suddenly, the nanny asks if it will be okay, because she doesn't think the master will allow this. However, the girl claims that if he doesn't allow it, they will do everything secretly. The woman with one horn argues that they can't do that, and if they do it, then she will go with him too. The main character tells Lion to immediately send this letter to Duke Lef, and she wonders how long it will take if she sends away with a shadow. The lady thought that Julian's threatening letter was just an excuse, and Leon asks why she is asking him this. Leaving the room, the main character tells the nanny to stay there. And only after they leave can she report all this, Henry. The main character thought that Cardell could try to protect Julian as much as he wanted, but the Duke would still wait for the right moment, and they will prevent it. The girl understands that she needs to make it clear to the Duke that even without Cardell's protection, attacks on Julian will end in death for him. The lady approaches the young master and asks him to promise her something. She orders not to use magical energy until she asks for it. The boy asks in surprise, even if it seems to him that they are on the verge of death. He cannot use his energy, and the girl confirms his words and agrees with him. Julian wonders if he can't use his energy even if he dies. However, the main character calms him down and says that he has her and he can trust her, and she took the young master in her arms. After a few seconds, Leia asks if she is comfortable with them, and the main character thought that moving with a shadow is much faster. Since they would have arrived faster, they would not have been able to. Leon meets them near the front door and asks if they even know how long he has been waiting for them. The main character offers the boy to take the box, and he asks in surprise what it is. She explains that this is a gift for Lef, and he only needs it to hold it. The main character invites Leia to hide in the shadow of the young master and go faster. Arriving at the castle, the servant asks who is there. The lady replies that it is the son of the Demon King Cardell, young Master Julian, who has arrived. He announces that he will take them to Mr. Lef. Upon entering, the lady was surprised because she saw beautiful red flowers. Suddenly, they were met by a guy who says that he was warned about his coming, and he wondered why Julian visited him. Lef, smiling, asks that Julian is still a child. He is interested in who is next to him because he assumes that this is the nanny and asks what kind of person she is already. The Duke claims that Julian is uncontrollably finishing everyone off. I predlegiate mu, it is better to stop taking out his anger on others. At this time, the main character approached the boy and reminded him of what she had previously asked him to do. The main character replies that she is not a nanny, but the young master's butler. Hearing this, Lef screams and asks the butler in surprise. After all, he doesn't understand how a child who hasn't even gone through the second awakening can have a butler. The young Duke claims that she drags him around like a mere burden, and he wonders if the Demon King cares about Julian that much. Lef claims that because he wrote, something bad happened, because he was attacked and the customer could not be found. The main character explains that this is why the young master came here to ask for help from an old friend. The Duke was surprised when he heard this, and he asks if Julian said so. However, the guy says that he doesn't think so because this is possible after he threatened him that he would tear off his limbs. Leo is interested in who these people are who are standing behind Julian. Leon introduces himself and says that he is the head servant. Hearing this, the Duke was surprised and wondered if they came completely without security. The young master claims that he is strong enough and does not need guards. Hearing this, Lef was surprised because he could not even imagine that this could happen. The main character turns to the young Duke and says that it seems that he was slightly offended by the previous letter, and therefore they have prepared a gift for him. Hearing this, Lef smiles because he doesn't understand at all, since they ask him to accept the gift and forget about all this. Sir, Perry claims that the item is perishable, and therefore she would like the young master to check the gift as soon as possible. Taking the box with the gift, the Duke suggests being quiet because it annoys him. He says that if he doesn't like it, they will have to prepare something better. However, the main character claims that he will definitely like it. However, before opening the box, Lef says that he does not know about this yet. A few minutes later, the young Duke opened the box and saw the balls inside it. And at this time, the lady asks if he likes it. The main character claims that this is part of the gifts he sent them the other day. She explains that more than half was used, and so they decided to give away only what they had left. Seeing this, Lef was very surprised. The girl claims that he hardly expected such a number, and asks him to accept it. At this time, Lef realizes that they are laughing at him, and he gets up, screaming in irritation and calling for security. Perry tells Leon to lock the door immediately. The knights who came to their master were very surprised because they did not understand anything, since the door suddenly closed and they could not open it. The main character turns to the young master, gives him a bottle, and invites him to drink it. And after that, she invites him to kill as much as he wants. A few days ago, while in the research room, Perry asks Henry what these bottles are. The guy explains that the potion is a condensation of demonic energy and absorption powers, and is used by higher demons to gather power. He invites the lady not to look at him like that. After the young master drank the bottle, he felt very energetic. Suddenly, he hears Lef ordering his servants to finish off this little bastard. However, in a few minutes, Julian quickly deals with all the servants, plunging them into eternal sleep. Seeing all this, Leia was surprised, because she does not understand how this happened. And the main character explains that everything happened by itself, and at this time, she smiles very quietly. Suddenly, Perry looked at Lef and thought that he was not even wounded, but only bewitched by magic. The young Duke looks at all this, and he understands that the end has come for him, and his eyes are full of horror. Julian finished with the knights and servants. He asks the main character if they will take Lef with them. Leaving the castle, Perry says that she is sorry, since the Duke himself was not there. And at this time, Leon, holding Lef at hand, asks if this isn't better. However, the lady claims that the young master could awaken. However, Leia says that they would have been destroyed, and they didn't even have time to blink an eye. But the doll objects and says that since they are with her, it's unlikely that this happened. Suddenly, Lef loses consciousness, and the lady does not understand what is wrong with him. Leon claims that the young master did not hit him, but he did a little. Upon entering the estates, they are greeted by the head butler, asking if they are crazy. However, the lady replies that he is mistaken. Heinrich then asks what they were thinking about and wonders if the young master is okay. Perry explains that the boy is fine, but he's just a little dirty. Seeing the blood on the boy's face, the main palace screams and orders to call a doctor. Julian turns to the lady and asks if she is injured. Heinrich asks where his blood came from. The young master explains that he finished everyone off. Suddenly, Heinrich saw Leon, who threw Lef under the wall. The chief servant reports that this is prey, and this time the main character says that the potion was very useful. Having heard this, the butler does not understand when she managed to steal it and asks her about it. However, the lady replies that she put it aside for the young master. The head butler is surprised when we hear this, and he loudly asks why the hell she did that. He wonders if the lady knows what this potion is. Henry says that if there are side effects, then instead of the demonic power, only the absorption power may remain. However, the main character assures him that she knows everything because the young master's demonic energy is very strong, and she knows for sure that there will be no problems. Hearing this, Henrik objects and says that this is so, but the fact does not change that this is dangerous for the child. Hearing their conversation, Julian asks in surprise whether he is dangerous to the lady. However, Henry claims that nothing bad happened, and he assures the boy that everything is fine with him. Having heard the answer, Julian asks with pleasure whether this is true, because he understands that there are no problems. After his words, the head butler cried out that no, and he turns to the young master, arguing that you can't take and drink everything, and he asks what the boy would do when it turned out to be dangerous. However, the young master does not understand the word everything. After all, he didn't do this, and Perry gave him the potion, and since she did it, he'll be fine. Heinrich does not understand why the butler Perry. After all, he used the demon suppression stone on Lef and proposes to put him in prison. The head butler is interested in why they were working on the Duke's castles in the first place. However, the main character, the butler, understands that this is something that the assistant must understand, and he needs to understand in order to prepare for the consequences. The main combustion explains that they didn't do anything special there, just the power of all the demons that were in the castle at that time was absorbed by the young master. Hearing this, Henrik says that it cannot be called that simple, and in despair he fell to the floor. The lady explains that the children were playing. She does not understand what is wrong here. However, the head butler does not understand how this can be considered a game. Having pulled himself together, he says that he has no time for this now, because it's time to take care of the adults' business. Suddenly, the young master coughed and blood came out of his mouth. When the main character saw this, she was surprised and invited the boy to look at her. And at this time, everything in the room began to spin with magic, and the lady invites the butler to grab onto her. After some time, Henry invites the lady to carry the young master behind him. Arriving at Lake Maine, the butler threw the young master there. Seeing all this, the girl was surprised, because she did not understand what was happening. Heinrich explains that this is the Lake of Awakening, and the girl understands that the second stage has begun. A week has passed since Julian's awakening began, and the main character did not see the boy all this time. Every day she came to the lake and looked at it. After some time, the woman with one horn approached her and explained that she had nothing to worry about, because all demons go through this, and she too was in the lake, only blue. The woman says that demons enter the blue lake with the power of absorption and enter the pink lake with the power of seduction, and the demons with the power of destruction into black lakes, and she remembers this very clearly. She only has good memories of that period. Hearing this, the main character thought that probably the same thing was happening in the Black Lake, and she did not think that the woman with one fate was mistaken about Julian. The girl understands that the boy simply entered the lake to awaken, like all demons, and she thinks more and more about how many mistakes she has made towards him. The nanny suggests the butler not to worry, but to sit down and eat. After all, she brought breakfast to the lake, and she prepared these dishes for them. Looked at the meat pie and turkey meat broccoli stew. The main character remembered that the young master did not like to eat it. She remembers how Julian suggested she try broccoli. After all, he doesn't understand why, only he has to eat it. However, the lady assures the boy that she is a doll, but he still insists that she eat it. And in the end, the main character ate broccoli, and the boy asks if it's tasty. Perry answers that it is edible, and at that time I thought it was disgusting. A few minutes later, the young master asks the doll why she doesn't eat broccoli. However, the lady replies that it is not tasty, and he says that then she will be a loser. The girl explains that she is an adult, and that adults don't have to eat broccoli. Julian talks about how he will soon go through an awakening. Hearing this, the main character claims that even after waking up, he will have to eat broccoli, and offers to eat more. And at this time, the boy screams that he hates broccoli. When Julian ate, the main character claims that he did well, and therefore today, she will ask the pastry chef to prepare him his favorite dessert. However, the young master suggests that they eat dessert together. He wants main courses and desserts to be eaten together. At this time, the main character thought that when Julian came out of the lake, he would no longer be a child. The lady asks the nanny if the young master will forget her. The woman assures that of course this will not happen, because after awakening, the memories are preserved, since everyone goes through this. The girl thought that an adult Julian would come out of the lake, and she asks the nanny how much he will grow. The woman explains that if you look at your father, he must be tall. Hey, if you measure the age of adults, then he should be 23 to 24 years old. The main character thought that at this age, people were already considered adults. From this moment, they began to have mustaches, and she imagined little Julian with a bushy mustache. The girl suddenly remembers the day when Julian smiled brightly at her for the first time. And if she knew that this would happen, she would still have called the artist, no matter what Henry said. The main character thought that she should have drawn those little fidgeting fingers, because the memories will one day fade. Nanny asks the lady if she would like some food. However, the girl looked at the soup and thought that this food was still disgusting. Suddenly, Leon walked up to them and greeted the lady, and she thought that today was his turn, because all three of them take turns and sit near the lake. Surprised, Leon reports that there is a whole library here. After all, there are a lot of books near the lake. The girl explains that Leia brought all this. After reading the title of the book, which is called The Adventures of the Princess and the Knight, which begins every night, Leon says that she always chooses books like these. Hearing this, the main character thought about whether Leon knew what his sister was saying about him when she came. The senior servant tells the butler if she heard that he was banned from entering the underground prison. He explains that he was simply draining energy from Lef from time to time, and when Henry found out about it, he made such a fuss. The lady says that he is a man, and she doesn't understand why he eats male energy, and maybe that's why he just calls Henry by name. Hearing this, Leon doesn't understand what the name has to do with it, and he says there are those who insist on this rule, and he doesn't care because food eats food, and the butler doesn't want to share a little energy with him. Seeing the evil face of the main character, the senior servant reports that this is a joke, and he laughs. Leon, addressing the girl, says that she is only kind to the young master. The senior servant reports that the young master is not dying and invites the girl to relax, because everyone goes through an awakening, and Julian simply has more power, and therefore the process lasts longer. He tells the girl not to be so depressed. However, the main character claims that she was not depressed because it was just anxiety, and she thinks about the possibility that something might go wrong, and suddenly he will not be able to get out of the lake. The lady wonders if Julian will suddenly regret the time he spent with her, and it may be that he will notice her shortcomings. The girl understands that he may suddenly no longer hug her, and the reason for all this may be that she was worried about the child, who bared clicks every time they mentioned waking up. The main character understands that this bitterness is caused by love, which she realized too late. Suddenly the knight, screaming, orders to be quiet since the Black Lake is already close. He screams and says to get the spears ready, and he cries out that the son of the Demon King is waking up all the time in the lake, because they will only have one chance to get rid of him. And at that time, many knights with arrows surrounded the lake. The chief knight, crying out, orders to search the entire lake as long as no mistakes are made. Suddenly the warriors saw aerial lights, and they don't understand where they came from. At this time, a doll came up to them and said that her name was Perry. She asks the knights what they're going to do with her master. The chief knight heard this and laughed and said that the noble lord of the Demon King's castle is protected by one servant, because he doesn't even feel demonic energy from her. And after that, screaming, he orders the knights to attack this girl. However, the main character wonders who they are. But I heard no answer, only a cry about finishing her off. The main character approaches the main knight and grabs him by the neck, and turning to him, says that she asked what he was going to do with the young master. However, after a few minutes, all the knights fell into eternal sleep. And the girl took the ring off her finger and offered to give it to one of the surviving warriors to his master. The lady threw the ring at his feet, and he asks in surprise who she is. The girl wipes the blood from her face and says that she is a butler. In the castle, Vidal's servant informs his master that a knight has returned from the Lake of Awakening. Hearing this, the gentleman was surprised and suggested that the knight begin to speak. Suddenly, the gentleman screams and says that they could not deal with the defenseless child, and the unarmed girl killed everyone except him. The knight shows the ring that the girl gave him, and when the master saw it, he thought that it belonged to the commander of the knights. The surprised man asks the warrior who did this to them, and he answers that the butler, who is a girl. Hearing this, the master thought that only Henry was in the Demon King's castle, but he uses magic and is constantly near the king, and he thought that since the novice knight was spared and sent back, this was a warning. The gentleman thought about what if this butler was with Julian in the Duke's castle, where a bloody massacre had recently occurred. The man thought that Cordell was a damn old man. The servant asks the master if he will send the knights again. However, the gentleman objects and says that he needs information about the butler. They need to find out her age and where she came from. And at this time, he reports that it would be better for him to change the strong demon to their side. The gentleman turns to the knight, invites him to tell him everything he knows and everything he has seen. The knight, who was very worried, began to talk about how it was a girl and her hair was white or golden. He no longer remembers, because it was difficult to see in the dark, and he cannot say for sure. However, he remembered that her eyes were light green. The warrior claims her name is Perry, and around this girl, blue lights hovered, changing their appearance. The knight says that he did not feel any demonic energy, which surprised him. Hearing this, the Lord asks if she is not a demon. After all, a simple person cannot be stronger than a knight commander. Suddenly, the man with the horns thought that she was a dragon. The master recalls that demons and dragons have had a bad relationship since time immemorial. The man thinks about what if Cardell, who loves his son very much, caved in because he got a dragon on his side. He suddenly stands up and screams about how the king is a crazy bastard. The gentleman with horns tells the servant to send out an invitation to a meeting to all the demonic dukes, and he reminds him to find out everything about this butler. Hearing this, the servant is surprised and asks what the master plans to do. The man says that since demons and dragons didn't sign an agreement not to invade each other's territory, and if he ended up on their territory, then this could help bring down the Demon King. The main character tells Leon that there was an attack last night. The girl says that the knights tried to get rid of the young master, and that's why she finished them all off. The chief servant was surprised and said that he would not be able to use power in the lake, and it seems to him that they were in a hurry, because thanks to her, the young master began to awaken in the first place. Leon explains that there is an unspoken rule that you cannot touch him while he is in the Lake of Awakening. When the main character heard this, she thought that she had done well since she had finished off all the knights. The girl says that everything is clear to her, and she tells Leon to tell Leia and the nanny not to come. The guy heard this and wondered why. Ladies say that if a demon comes here, he will die immediately. Leon asks the girl if she really is going to finish them all off. However, the lady corrects him and says that it is not she who wants it, but they. The chief servant reports that he is surprised every time he sees her. He asks the girl who she is and whether she is a black magician. The lady replies that she is a doll, and she doesn't know about black magic, since it was created by human magicians. Leon was surprised, and says that if it was created by people, it would be from an aesthetic point of view. However, suddenly the girl grabs him by the throat and says that everything is not getting through to him, and that's why she should hit him once. Breathing every once in a while, Leon says that this is a joke. Holding the guy by the throat, the lady wonders what's going on there. However, the guy says that he is in a lot of pain and invites the girl to let him go. Suddenly, a young man in wet clothes appeared near the lake. A guy who has sunset-colored eyes, horns that have grown to the size of his palm, and is a head taller than the main character. And this guy is Julian. The lady looked at the man who had bare feet and asked if he was the young master. Suddenly, the guy comes up to the lady and hugs her. Perry turns to Julian and says that she congratulates him on his awakening. Surprised, Julian asks what they were doing here. And at this time, the main character slapped Leon on the head, and he asks the lady to take a little care of him. Hearing this, Julian asks the guy why Perry should take care of him. Suddenly, they saw the fire of Tokeba, and the young master asked who it was. The main character explains that these people are trespassers, and she has set Tokeba's fire to monitor them, because this is not the first time they have come here. And at this time, Julian realized where the strong smell of blood came from. He asks the men if they will be crushed. The young master dealt with these violators in 5 minutes. And at this time, the next demon king, Julian, has completed his awakening, and he tells the servant to report this to his master. Near the lake, Julian saw a lot of garbage and told the main service to clean it up. The guy replies that it's good, but does nothing. Seeing this, the young master turns to Leon and again claims that he took care of it. However, the guy objects and says that the butler has more powers than him. And at that time, Julian suddenly looked at him, and Leo understood everything, and he quickly began to clean up. The remaining two, the main character asks Julian why he did this. However, the guy does not understand what she is talking about. The girl explains that Lion is right, because she is much stronger than him. Julian talks about how he hates it when Perry touches other guys, and he explains that Perry is his personal butler. Hearing this, the lady says that the master should not be so obsessed. However, Julian objects and says that this is not an obsession. At this time, the main character thought that the guy had not changed at all, and if you looked closely, he was the same. Perry touches his hair and suggests that the guy not do that when he has a queen. The girl reports that he has completed his second awakening and will soon have to go on a journey to find his mate. Julian explains that he doesn't need something like that. The main character claims that this is only now, because later he will be able to meet the love of his life. However, the young master says that he likes Perry, and only he needs her. He touches the girl and hugs her. Julian remembers liking Perry because she just stayed close to him, and she is the one who dared to approach him when no one else could. The guy understands that the girl has broken through a solid wall that no one has gone beyond. Does it matter whether it is sympathy or dependence? And he will have to figure this out. Julian realizes what is really important and asks Perry if he can love her. Hearing this, the main character was surprised and said no. Entering his father's office, the young gentleman asks what love is, and the father does not understand what he must answer and asks whether his son will return to philosophy. However, after thinking a little, the Demon King says that love is a feeling that one feels for one's partner. He explains that there is a type of parental love, and the young master asks what it is then and how it differs from sympathy. Hearing this, the head butler asks the young master if he likes Perry, and he invites him to explain how he feels. Julian explains that he wants the lady to always be by his side because he thinks that she belongs to him. Cardell turning to his son, he says that he needs to learn to distinguish between obsession and attachment. And at this time, Julian asks his father what obsession is. The Demon King says that his son has grown up on the outside, but is still the same child on the inside. And he asks Julian if he knows why Perry even works here. The father asks his son if it's strange for him, since the girl has nothing to do with demons, but still works for them. However, the young master does not understand what is strange here. The king says that the lady wants to die. Cardell says this doll is strong, and she doesn't care if he cuts off its head or locks its body parts in another room. At this time, standing under the door, the main character does not understand what they have been talking about for so long. The king claims that the son's view of his father has not changed at all. However, Julian suggests that he not change the topic. Hearing this, the king was surprised and asked him if he had said enough. However, he again explains that the doll he is obsessed with came here to die by his hand, and she wants to destroy her body because Julian has the most destructive power in the history of demons. The father says that in truth, he himself suggested this to her, and he asks his son what he will tell him about this. The king asks Julian if he will give the doll freedom through death. Hearing this, the guy thought that Perry might disappear. However, he cannot imagine that this could happen. Julian reports that he will not do this and will not let her die. However, the father asks his son if the doll offended him in any way. The young master reports that the lady never offended him in any way, and the butler asks him what he's going to do next. However, Julian responded by asking what difference it made to them, and he claims that Perry is his. And after those words, the guy leaves the office, and he doesn't understand if this is not an obsession, then what could it be? The main character, standing under the door, thought that one glance was enough to understand that it was a force of destruction. The girl reflects that she will now be able to return to the spiritual world. Suddenly, she saw the young gentleman and asked if he had finished talking about the journey. The girl looked at him and thought that she would stay a little and leave. The main character understands that before he undergoes the third awakening, she will have to leave him, and she still has to wait a little longer. Julian tells the girl that the conversation about the trip went well, and the lady wonders who will go with him as an escort. The young master explains that this has not yet been decided, and Perry thought about how she could leave without resolving such an important issue. The lady reports that she will now go to the office of the Demon King and everyone will know about it. Suddenly, Henry the butler reports that since they are still here, and says that the master has assigned them an escort. And at this time, Henry thought that it was good that at least Cardell was doing his job diligently, and he announces that it will be the butler, Perry, and Lion. Julian, when he heard the name Lion, was very surprised, and the butler says that he was also asked to convey such words. Whatever happens, Julian should always know when to stop. Perry asks the young master as they head out. He replies that in the coming days she should be ready. Julian saw the girl leaving, and he asked where she was going. The lady explains that she is going to find Leon to tell him to get ready too. The main character noticed that the young gentleman was very nervous and asked him if he should ask Henry to warn him. When Julian heard this, he became calmer and suggested that the girl do the same. And after that, the lady says that she wants to see the nanny. However, Juliana wonders why. The girl explains that she still does not know that he has completed his awakening. The young master says it's good that she doesn't know. However, Perry suggests that he show some respect to the other demons. Hearing this, the guy doesn't understand why he suddenly has to do this. And at this time, the main character thought that at this rate on the trip, they would not even find an assistant, let alone a life partner. Julian takes the girl by the hand and invites her to follow him. After some time, the girl invites the guy to let her go, and he asks the lady what she likes. The lady replies that she doesn't know, and he asks if she likes jewelry or trinkets. However, the girl again replies that she doesn't really like it. The young master again wonders if she might like some of the food, and he asks if the girl has a hobby. The main character says that she doesn't like broccoli. However, she wonders why he is asking her this. The guy explains that he needs to know this in order to prevent the lady from leaving. Hearing this, the main character was surprised. The young master says that if he fills this castle with everything she likes, then she will not leave, and even if he regrets it. Hearing this, Perry assures the young master that she had no intention of leaving. However, Julian claims that this is a lie, and the girl asks him if she has ever lied to him. Julian looks at the girl and invites her to promise him that she will never leave him, and the lady agrees with him. And after that, the young master takes the girl's finger and kisses it. The man informs the master that the movements of the demons of the aristocrats are unusual. However, he does not understand what is the point of digging under Perry, and the servant says that they did not know about this. The Demon King talks about something he doesn't understand, because they must already have a lot to do in the Duke's estate alone. Cardell says that overall they achieved their goal anyway, and he tells the servant to find out why they were so interested in the doll. At this time, the king's butler asks the master whether everything will be all right. The lord of the demon realm explains that if the young master goes on a journey with Peri, then all attention will be focused on her. The king understands that his son needs to find a life partner and an assistant on a difficult journey, and he's worried that Peri will get in the way of that. The butler reports that the young master's relationship with the girl is a little different than with an ordinary maid, and the king says that is why they are traveling together. However, Henry claims that even in the castle, it is dangerous to be together and invites the master to think about Julian. The king claims that his son will handle everything just fine on his own, and he says that Julian has already grown up and it's not so easy to deal with him. However, the butler claims that the young master has just undergone awakening, and he does not understand whether it is not worth protecting him. Cardell argues that in this situation, it is not the son who will need protection, but the doll. Hearing this, Henry asks if he is really talking about the butler Peri, and he can't even imagine it. The Demon King says that Julian can destroy her at any moment. Hearing these words, the butler wonders if the king wants to say that the young master can finish off Peri. Cardell claims that it would be much easier if he let the girl go so easily, and he says that raising children is too hard. At this time, Julian invites the girl to swear on her soul that she will never leave him. Hearing this, the main character looks at the guy and says that she doesn't want to do this. The young master was surprised, because for the first time Peri said that he did not want something, and he says he feels a little worse than he thought. The girl explains that she can swear on something other than her soul. However, Julian claims that nothing will do except the soul, and the girl says that he already has enough things. The young master turns to the lady and says that there is no need to console him, since he is no longer a small child. And at this time, the main character thought about why he behaves this way. After all, she doesn't understand it. Peri invites the young master to bring luggage and money for the trip. The girl counted the money and thought that the king was immediately visible, because with that kind of money, you could live without need for 5 years. Julia turns to the lady and says that the trip is not the main thing now. However, she objects and says that it is important. And who knows, maybe they will have to leave tomorrow. And at this time, the young master thought that the oath could be made later, and he closely watched the girl. The main character looked at the guy and thought why he was sitting there and just watching. She reflects on the fact that she probably raised the child incorrectly. And after that, as the lady collected her luggage, the young master invites her to go with him. The girl became interested in where he wanted to take her, and she asked him about it. Julian explains that he needs to see an old friend. Arriving at the dungeon, Leff saw them, and at the same moment screamed out for them to untie him. He asks the guy if he thinks his father won't do anything. Julian replies that his father only has a title left and asks what he is capable of. Surprised captive, ask who he is. And after a few minutes, he realized that it was Julian. The young master approaches Leff and says that if he looks at Peri again, he will rip out his eyes. Leff heard this, looked at the girl in surprise, and called her name. And at this time, Julian made an incision in his chest and said that he warned him about this. The guy screams and asks what he wants. And Julian replies that he doesn't want anything and just came to him. The young master looks at him and says that he likes the situation when he doesn't know where Leff is, and he claims that he cannot get out of this prison. Julian turns to the girl and tells her that from now on she can request permission for the demons of nightmares to enter here, and he will be sorry if a good snack just dies. Hearing this, Leff, screaming, asks them to wait, and he begs for mercy. He turns to Julian and says that he was his friend, and therefore asks to spare him. Suddenly, the young gentleman comes closer to the guy and says that Peri explained to him that he only wanted benefits from him. Julian says that he wants to test whether demon aristocrats become idiots if their energy is sucked out. The young master wonders if there has been a request to allow nightmare demons to visit the prison, and the servant reports that everything is so. At this time, the king thought that his son was very similar to his mother, and since Julian wants this, then so be it. The servant informs the king that Duke Proceo has searched all the nearby lands in search of his son. It would only be a matter of time before he knew Leff was here. The king says that this duke is persistent. However, he is not a hindrance because he enjoys alcohol, which is especially sweet today. Hearing this, the servant says that this wine is absolutely unsweetened, and at this time, he asks the butler why he is pushing, and the butler replies that he is an idiot and thinks that the reason is in the wine itself. Candell looked at his servants and said that he had heard that they were old friends and got along well. And he says that once he and the Duke were friends like that too. However, the butler and servants simultaneously respond that they do not get along. The king offers to leave Lef as is. Meanwhile, the man claims that there were many witnesses who saw the young master in Perry, and there are those who saw Lef being led here. The butler explains that the lady wasn't holding back a bit. Candle asks the butler how much time has passed since the Duke returned to the estate, while pouring himself a glass of wine. Heinrich replies that it is quite a bit. After all, he was noticed this morning. The king asks how many escorts the Duke has. The servant replies that he only has one demon, and most likely because Perry got rid of everyone in the castle. Hearing this, the Demon King said that he was a little sorry. Candle turning to Chuck and Henry, they say they have a case they need to deal with. Hearing this, the servants say that they are ready to do whatever he wants. The Demon King tells Henry to keep Julian at the estate as long as possible, and perhaps the best and easiest way would be to resort to the help of a doll. Candle tells Chuck to spread the rumors. Hearing this, he doesn't understand what kind of rumors he should spread. The king explains that he must spread rumors that Lef might die soon. Julian's father argues that it would be nice to add that Lef is now in a terrible state. Hearing this, Chuck says in surprise that then the Duke will definitely come here for his son. The king claims that since he cannot send Julian to him, then let the Duke himself come to him. Cardell suggests that the servants spread harsher rumors than just using nightmare demons. The butler looked at the king and said that he would become ill if he drank too much. However, Mr. claims that today the memories of Julia are especially strong, and he does not understand what is the use of an oath to the soul, since there is no way to avoid unexpected events. The main character thought that this was the first time after growing up that she went to wake him up in the morning. The girl thought that maybe she should throw it in the air, and at this time she realizes that he is now twice as tall. The lady had not yet opened the door when Julian suddenly stood in front of her and called her name in surprise. The girl turns to the young master and asks why he has already woken up. Hearing this, Julian says that there is something strange here, and invites her to enter the middle of the room. And at that time, he thought with pleasure that it had finally happened. When the main character entered the room, she saw the nanny trampling through the young master's things. The woman with one horn explains that the young master has become an adult, and she needs to go through his wardrobe since the guy cannot wear what he wore before he woke up. Julian turns to the lady and asks if she can help him wash up. Hearing this, the girl asks in surprise if he hasn't washed his face yet, and at this time the nanny claims that he was specifically waiting for her arrival. Perry took a towel and soaked it in water and then wiped the face of Mr. And he says that it doesn't hurt him anymore. Hearing this, the lady asks what he is talking about. Julian explains that he used to get hurt when she washed his face, and the girl looked at him and thought that the skin had become thicker. The main character pinched the guy's cheeks again. This is when the girl realized that he really was no longer a child. The gentleman tells Perry to ask for breakfast, and the girl asks if he will go with her. Juliana explains that it is too noisy outside, and he thinks they are preparing for a congratulatory banquet. And at such moments, it is better for him to pretend that he does not notice anything. Hearing this, the main character thought that now the gentleman looks like a real adult. The Demon King Cardell informs the guests that today they can drink and eat to their heart's content in honor of his son Julian, who awakened his powers. At the banquet, the nanny approaches the main character and invites her to try the dishes, because she thinks she fell in love with the chef who cooked it. The main character says that she understands, but she doesn't want to try it and asks who prepared it. Suddenly, the lady hugs Julian and invites her to try one piece. How delicious it is. After eating one piece, the girl says it's delicious, and Julian claims that he spoke about this. Klatsnit abo torknitsia tut. Shob vesti text. The main character looked at the young gentleman with a glass in his hand and suggested that he should not drink too quickly, as he might get drunk. Hearing this, Chuck asserts that alcohol is made to make you drunk. The servant turns to the master and invites him to drink one glass, since he is now an adult. Many people approached Julian and wanted him to drink with them. The main character thought that he had exploded before and whether someone should have approached him. The girl thought that he had really grown up. Suddenly, Heinrich approaches the main character and invites her to make sure that the young master drinks in moderation. The lady explains that he hasn't been listening to her very much lately, but she'll try. Perry approaches the gentleman and says that she thinks he should drink enough. And as soon as she said this, demons immediately approached her and told her that on such a beautiful day, she too should drink at least one glass. The lady realized that it was useless to argue, and in order for the gentleman to drink less, she drank a whole barrel of wine instead. When the demons saw this, they were very surprised. the main character reports that she and the young master have drunk enough and invites the demons to have fun themselves. And at that time, she grabbed Julian by the hand and led him along. Going out onto the balcony, the girl asks the gentleman if he is okay, and he says it's better to ask her. However, the main character explains that she is a doll, and he says that he knows about this and is still worried. Julian hugs the girl and says that he is worried about her. The lady looked at the gentleman and invited him to get some air outside, since he was so drunk. Hearing this, Julian claims that he is not drunk at all, and at this time, the girl thought that there was no need to ask about this. The young master says that his father told him that he is obsessed with her, and he asks the lady if that is a bad thing. She replies that, of course, and he doesn't understand why. Julian reports that his father was obsessed with his mother, but this did not cause any inconvenience. The lady says it's because his mother was strong. The young master looked at the girl and claims that she is also strong. The next day, Julian came to his father's office and asked him to let him go tomorrow. However, the king does not agree and explains this by saying that he is preparing one gift for him and offers to wait for the young master first. Hearing this, Julian says that he does not need a gift. However, the father insists and says that he recommends accepting it. After all, it is very precious. At this time, Julian thought that he hoped that this was not something trivial. Suddenly, Chuck asks for forgiveness for interfering, and he went up to the king and whispered something in his ear. Cardell reports that the gift has just arrived, and he offers to bring it to his office. The king tells Perry to go with Chuck. Hearing this, Julian claims that Perry is her butler. However, the father asks how she addresses him, and claims that for now she considers the king to be the master, and not his son. The father claims that if he doesn't like something, then he should quickly take the place of the demon king. At this time, Perry invites Julian to go. However, he looked at her and says that she is strong too. The main character reflects on the fact that who would have thought that the young master would so suddenly decide to go for permission to travel, and in the end, they were refused. While walking behind Chuck, the lady asks if the gift is something living, and he replies that what she says is true. The servant reports that the gift is the Duke of Zurka. Hearing this, the man says that they are rude, because he does not understand why they treat him this way if they know his identity. The girl says that she doesn't know this, and she grabs a stranger by the hair and doesn't understand who could even think that the demon sneaking around the backyard of someone else's estate is the Grand Duke. Chuck tells Duke that his master is waiting for him, and he says that the rumors were true. Hearing this, the Duke asks if his son is really being tortured here, and Chuck says that his reasoning is correct. At this time, the main character thought that the draining of energy by the demons of nightmares was also a kind of torture. The demonic Duke of Zurka, screaming, orders that they now take him to the king and he will finish him off. And the servant invites him to follow them. Entering the king's office, the servant announces that the Duke of Zurka has arrived. Seeing the Duke, Julian was surprised and asked his father what this meant. The king explains that this is the gift he told him about earlier. Duke Zurka asks the servants where they brought him to. He, screaming, says that they immediately gave him his son, and he asks what's wrong with Lef. At this time, the butler threatens the Duke with cold steel and tells him that he is in front of his master and invites him to watch his words. However, the Duke asks Henrik if he thinks he can scare him. Julian wonders why the Duke of Zurka is his gift, because he doesn't think that he will be of any use. Suddenly, the Duke breaks away from the butler and, screaming, says that he has already realized that everyone here has gone crazy. And at this time, he used his power of magic. At this time, the main character enters the room and claims that he cannot attack so thoughtlessly. The butler quickly grabs the demonic Duke and asks the young master if he is safe. Chuck looks at Perry and says that she has a wound on her neck. However, the girl reports that she is fine. At this time, Julian thought that his Perry was a doll, and he couldn't finish her off like that. He comes closer to the girl and asks if she is okay. The young master turns to the Duke and says that he will allow him to see his son and invites him to silently follow him. Hearing this, the Demon King turns to his son and says that he is so kind to their uninvited guest. However, Julian replies that it is not yet known whether he is doing good or bad. Suddenly, he saw a bottle of liquid on the shelf and drank it. Looking at his son, Cardell reports that he is indeed very similar to his mother Julia, and the young master replies that it should be so naturally. Arriving at the dungeon, they saw Lef along with the girls who entertained him, and Julian tells them to go because that's all for today. Hearing this, the girls were disappointed because they still had a lot of delicious food left. But however, they did not dare to object to the master. Seeing his son, The demonic Duke of Zerka ran up to him and said that his poor son, and he does not understand what they did to him. And Julian explains, screaming, that no one would have locked him here, he wouldn't have done anything wrong. Hearing this, the Duke objects and says that this is nonsense. After all, he does not understand what his son is accused of. The young master explains that his son is accused of wanting to kill him, recklessly, considering him a weakling. However, the demonic duke does not want to believe it and assures that Lef would never do such a thing. And Julian claims that he doesn't care because he is the owner here and he is on his own territory. The main character says that Duke Zerka really values his son. However, apparently, he did not even know that he had illegally appropriated government money and sent hired killers. The girl claims that it is not easy to live with such a good-for-nothing brat and asks if this is not true. However, the Duke does not believe this and claims that they are creatures because they behaved very vilely. Julian says that he believes it would be a gift for the Duke if the brat Lef is now conscious. At this time, the girl felt strength, and Julian says that these are all just hopes, and then plunges the demonic Duke of Zerk into eternal sleep. The lady thought that Julian had recently drunk something, and it might be that same potion. The main character asks the young master if he was going to absorb Lef's energy, and she believes that she does not need to be reminded about the side effects of the drug. However, the gentleman reports that he is fine, and the lady says that it can only seem so, while in reality, the young man asks the lady if she is afraid that he will lose his power of destruction, and he tells Perry not to worry, and he says that although sometimes he still wants her to worry about him, the main character says that she already thinks about him. Julian looked at her and said that she was saying everything correctly, but nevertheless, this was not enough for him, and he suggested that she think more often. Leaving the dungeon, the young master wonders whether their father will now allow them to go on a journey. At this time, the servant informs the king that the young master has arrived, and he invites him to come in. Julian says that his father's gift was so big that it took a lot of time. The king wonders what his son did with this gift, and maybe he absorbed all the energy. Cardell reports that he really is too much like his mother, but not a bit like him. Hearing this, the young master thanks his father for the compliment. The king asks what he plans to do next. Julian explains that he doesn't even know, because now they are not like demons, even inferior to people in strength, and therefore you can simply leave them in the nearest forest, and then let them figure it out for themselves. The father says that his son does not intend to finish what he started. One official gentleman explains that he did everything he wanted, and now his father will have to throw away the gift wrapping. Hearing this, the Demon King says that the boy spoke beautifully, and he tells Chuck to let Zerk and Lef go, and also to tell the Duke that from now on he is deprived of his title because of the power that has left him, which Julian took away. The king invites Chuck to spread in detail how these two were going to kill his son. Having heard this servant claims that everything will be fulfilled to the smallest detail. Julian asks his father now if he can go on a trip. However, the father does not understand why his son is in such a hurry to leave. The young master asks the king if he wants the same thing. After all, transfer the throne and the title of Demon King to him as soon as possible. The Lord of the Demon Kingdom, King Cardell, gives his consent to his son's journey, and he says that for now he will defend this place. Julian asks the lady if they can't just go without him. However, the main character suggests waiting a little longer for the chief servant Leon. The young master doesn't understand where he's taking this brat, and he's already starting to get nervous. Perry went to say goodbye to the head butler, and Henry tells her that she must understand that the young master is too obsessed with her, and he says that it worries him a little. The lady suggests not to frown at him as he will get wrinkles. The main character claims that during the journey, they will definitely meet a faithful assistant and companion in the master's life, and after which he will lose interest in her. The head butler asks the lady to be careful, and he also invites her to take a magic scroll, since they don't have any magic, and so it won't be amiss. Henry explains that with the help of this scroll, she will be able to contact the castle at any time. However, the lady claims that she doesn't think they will need this thing. The head butler explains that with this scroll she can easily escape if she is cornered. The main character asks in surprise if he is telling her this, and she wonders if the butler has forgotten how much power she has. However, the man claims that anything can happen, and she must be insured. Perry agrees with the butler and asks if he could tell Leon to get started and get ready for the trip, because the young master doesn't like it when she talks to him. The butler tells the lady not to worry as he will hand over everything. A few minutes later, Leon reports that he is ready. The lady asks him if he knows what time it is, She wonders what the butler Henry gave him yesterday. He explains that the butler told him to hurry up as his departure was scheduled for early in the morning. Leon explains that demons like him are nocturnal. And after these words, the girl slaps him on the head, and the young gentleman invites them to stop, since it's time for them. Julian invites the lady to leave her things because Leon must carry them. Hearing this guy explain that his bags are heavy, and the gentleman says that he is happy for him, but it is not easier for him either. When the main character saw the young gentleman on a horse, she thought that he looked good, and she doesn't understand when he managed to learn horse riding. Leon, sitting behind the carriage, asks the butler how the horse is and whether she's going to walk. At this time, the main character thought that she had never done this. However, apparently she would soon have to. When the lady climbed onto the horse, she thought about why they were standing, and she thought that the horse usually doesn't walk on its own, and you just have to sit on it. Looking at her, Julian asks if Perry has ever ridden. The gentleman says that if anything, one horse can support 2 riders. At this time, the lady thought that it would be better for her to ride on her tokebi light. And with the help of magic, she made a wolf from the light. Seeing this animal, Leon says that this is a monster, and it won't go like that. Suddenly, Julian rode up to the girl and invited her to sit on his horse. The young master asks the girl to hold on to him tightly, otherwise she might fall. The main character thought that it would be very awkward if this happened while driving. Seeing them on a horse, Leon says that, it turns out, there's still something that she cannot do, because he thought Perry was all-powerful. The girl says that she doesn't know how to do a lot of things, and the gentleman asks, "What exactly?" The main character explains that death has no power over her. However, the gentleman does not understand what she means and asks if she can kill herself. The girl explains that no, because she said so directly. At this time, Leon claims that it can be done anyway since she is so strong. The main character asks the young master why they are standing. He asked for forgiveness for this and reports that they are going to Delkayon, and the chief servant asks to wait for him. He says that at this time there is a festival in the city. Leon says that now is the very season of azalea blooming, and he thinks the holiday is in full swing. The guy thought that this was the perfect time to meet someone. The lady looked at the guy and thought that he was too joyful, and she says that something is unclean here. Delkayon is a huge city inhabited by demons, humans, and other races, and besides, it is one of the best cities in the demon world. The lady thought that this was the most suitable place for Juliana to find a faithful assistant and life partner, and she assumes that everything should go smoothly. Walking around the city, they enjoyed its beautiful architecture. Naulitsak bailum nogoliude, ioni vese veselilis. Main character. I think this means that now she understands why Leon was so excited. The head servant asks if he can step aside for a moment. Hearing this, Perry objects and says no. The girl turns to the main gentleman and invites him to wait here, as she will buy him something to eat. Julian invites the lady to go together, but she objects and invites him to watch Leon. And at this time, she comes down on her own. Walking down the street, the girl saw kebabs and a honey drink with azalea. And there was a long line to this shop. She thought it must be delicious, and she should be in line. While standing in line, the girl heard someone calling her. An unfamiliar man asks if she is here alone. He claims that he is also alone and asks if the lady would like to join him. Perry replies that she is with a companion. Hearing this, the man was surprised and asked who her companion was. After all, he didn't see anyone near her. The main character says that she is not obliged to answer him. The man heard this and asks if she is selling herself too much, and he says that if she comes with him, he promises that they will have a lot of fun. However, the unfamiliar man did not hear the answer and grabbed the girl by the hand. Perry explains that she is buying dinner for her young master and tells him not to disturb him. Hearing this, he says that she is not so simple. An unfamiliar man asks what kind of demon she serves. Suddenly, Julian reveals that this lady is his butler. Seeing Julian, the main character turns to him and asks the young master about Leon. He explains that he had to be dragged. Julian angrily asks what the man wants from his butler. However, the man says that lately he has seen that any rabble has begun to be treated with respect, and he is interested in whose son he is. At this time, the main character breaks his arm, and the unfamiliar man screams loudly. The girl suggests that he watch his language since this gentleman is from a very respected family. Julian is interested and asks Perry why she was gone for so long. The lady explains that there is a line and she couldn't go faster. The girl says that she should have agreed when the gentleman offered to go together. Sitting at the table, Leon says that she shouldn't have spared him because one broken arm was clearly not enough, and next time he invites her to hurt him and eat his leg and run into him again. The Duke says that he needs to find out what family he comes from. Leon says that, of course, and at that time he thought it was very cruel. Julian offers Lion an azalea drink. However, the guy refuses and says it wasn't worth it. Leon asks the butler how about an overnight stay. Since the festival is now in full swing, it is not a fact that there will be free rooms. Hearing this girl asks for forgiveness and says that she doesn't need sleep, and that's why she didn't even think. Leon looked at the lady and realized that he would have to go and negotiate about the rooms. However, at this moment he wanted to object, but the young master looked at him, and the guy changed his mind. The girl asks Julian if he likes kebab. He replies that this food is delicious and the drink is aromatic. The main character claims that this place belongs to the domain of the Demon King, and she doesn't understand why azaleas don't grow in the castle so that they can make the same drink. The gentleman says that he does not know, and suggests that perhaps storing these flowers is not as easy as she thinks, and then that explains everything. Julian wonders why Perry isn't eating. Hearing this, the lady thought it had started again, and she explains what kind of doll she is, and asks if he's full and maybe anything else he wants. The gentleman suddenly stands up at the table and invites the girl to go with him. Julian bought a shish kebab for the lady and invites her to eat it. After looking at this food, the girl asks the gentleman if he bought all this for her. He says the lady is right and asks her to eat quickly. And at this time, the main character thought that the gentleman now especially looked like a child. After taking a bite, Julian asks if she liked it. She replies that it seems delicious. At some point, the main character suddenly felt that they were being watched, because everyone, regardless of gender and age, could not take their eyes off the adult Julian. At this time, the lady does not understand how she saw him as a small child. Suddenly the girl saw that Julian felt bad and weakened a little, because his face had changed and his skin had become dull. The main character asks the gentleman if he is feeling unwell. He replies that he is hot and his whole body itches. At this time, the lady thought that if it was itching, then it could be an allergy. The girl asks the young master if he can be more precise. He replies that he has a headache and has no strength to stand on his feet. Hearing this, the lady thought that maybe there was poison in the food, and he shouldn't have tried everything. The main character understands that if something happens to Julian, she will be responsible for everything. Perry suggests that the gentleman first take some medicine for his headache. I substitute, and she says that she will go look around to see if there is a pharmacy in the vicinity. Suddenly, the young master grabs her hand and invites her to stay. Leon asks the butler why she left him and abandoned him. He asks if she even knows how long it took him to look for them. The guy reports that he has found excellent housing and says that this problem has already been solved. Suddenly, Leon saw that something was wrong with the young master, and he asked about it. Perry explains that she doesn't know why he became like this, and suggests that perhaps there was something wrong with the food or drink. However, Leon claims that everything is correct, since it is the drink. The main character looked at the guy, and she doesn't understand why he's smiling, because it infuriates her. Leon explains that the azalea drink is a kind of love potion. He looked at the girl and asked if she knew about it, since he thought she knew. At this time, the lady thought that this bastard obviously knew that she never knew anything about it. Perry grabs the guy by the neck and asks why he didn't say so sooner. Leon explains that it is not dangerous, since the young master is already an adult. Suddenly, Julian turns to Perry, and she looked at him and realized that he was completely exhausted. She takes the gentleman in her arms and asks the servant where he found lodging for the night and offers to show him. The main character wonders if there is an antidote for this drink. Leon explains that this is not poison and that in about 3 hours the gentleman should feel better. The head servant asks the lady if he can go and have fun as he runs an errand. Hearing this, Julian replies that he can already leave and invites him not to return alive. After the master's words, Leon screams with pleasure and leaves the room. At this time, the main character thought that it would be better if they took a nanny with them. Lying in bed, Julian asks Perry if she will always be by his side. At this time, the girl thought that she somehow had to calm the gentleman down and said that she was already nearby, and hugs him and says everything is fine. However, Julian, with sadness in his eyes, reports that she is still going to leave. The lady thought that she could not now promise to stay with him forever. Perry reflects on the fact that during the journey, Julian will find a life partner. And after his third awakening, she will have to return to the world of spirits. The girl remembers that, according to Leon, the azalea drink is a love land, and perhaps now they will be able to find the betrothed of the future Demon King. the main character thought about whether she should just imagine Julian together with some demoness. And at this time, Julian asks Perry if he can kiss her. However, without waiting for an answer, he hugs her. The girl looked at the gentleman and did not understand what kind of feeling she had for him. After all, Julian went on a journey to find an assistant and life partner. At this time, you are in the castle of the Demon King. The head butler tells the king that Leon cannot be trusted, and he shouldn't have been sent with them. Cardell says that with the arrival of Perry, Julian has clearly become more reserved. And as for the chief servant, he did not have much hope in his prudence. The king claims that he believes only in his son and his doll. Henry reports that the young master is abnormally obsessed with the butler Perry. The head butler tells the king that the young master a priori cannot love the doll, and he is only fixated on his childhood memories, and moreover this. Hearing this, the king asks him if he wants to say that Julian is still a child. Cardell, addressing Henry, says that he thinks too straightforwardly. The lord of the demon kingdom, the demon king Cordell, claims that perhaps his son already understands his feelings perfectly, and he is not a small child, but already an adult young man, and suggests getting used to it. The king ponders the fact that maybe his son has fallen in love, and who knows? After all, between love and affection, there is sometimes just a step. Reading the report, Cardell tells Henry that he ordered Chuck to spread rumors among the dukes that the butler, Perry, is a hidden dragon. And he also orders to find him a representative of this race so that he can talk to him about something. Hearing this, the king's chief butler was very surprised, because he could not even imagine that he needed to do such a thing. Cardell explains that because of the agreement between their worlds, dragons cannot interfere in the affairs of demons. However, only a relative located on foreign territory can serve as an exception. The king says that this is why there should be a rumor that one of the dragons is settling in the demon world, and he suggests that it should make a little noise. Cardell is reflecting on the fact that he does not understand since when love became such a wonderful feeling. He remembers himself in his youth, and that he too once experienced the same feelings. And he says that he is interested in what his son will ultimately choose. The main character, being in the room with Julian, drowns in kisses on their lips. The young master looks lovingly at his butler, and at this time she also does not take her eyes off him. A few minutes later, blood began to flow from Julian's nose, and at that time, the young master felt a loss of strength. Seeing this, Perry worriedly asks him if he is okay. However, she worries about him, but does not want him to notice it. For some time, Julian lost consciousness, but the main character was near him all the time. Well, when he opened his eyes, she immediately informed him that she had never left and was near him all the time. The gentleman reports that he feels a little better. However, he is worried that the lady did not even go to bed, and he asks if she has. The main character explains that since she is a doll, she does not need any rest or sleep, and he invites Julian to rest a little more since he needs it and to increase his strength. However, the young master does not want to go to bed because she is also awake, and he thought that he didn't want to leave the girl alone. Lady again assure him that she has no need for sleep. Julian looked at the girl, and at the same time he wanted to hug her. And after he hugged her, he felt that his heart was somehow shrinking. At that time, he became much calmer. Suddenly, Perry leaves the room, and the surprised gentleman asks where she is going. The girl invites the guy to sleep a little, and as soon as he rests, they immediately move on. However, Julian wanted the girl to stay with him a little longer, because when she is near, he feels very good. But after she leaves, he asks why she is so cold. The main character explains that this is a given. After all, she is not alive, but an artificially created creature. The girl says that she is going to look for Leon. When the gentleman was left alone in his room, he thought that for his feelings, this did not matter at all. After all, he likes her just the way she is. Entering the corridor, the lady saw Leon together with some girl. As she came closer, she heard him tell her that she was the most beautiful demoness he had ever met. An unfamiliar lady heard this and wondered if he was telling the truth. Leon touches her hair and looks intently into her eyes and says that he never lies. However, the main character did not want to hear his chatter any longer, and she kicked him in the shoulder. Leon turns around and asks if this is a blow. Perry asks where the hell he is. The head servant smiles and explains that he is just a little hungry, and he wonders how the young master is feeling. The lady says he is sleeping. However, Leon says that he is asking the wrong thing because he is interested in how the master feels after the love potion. Perry briefly says it's over. The guy was surprised when he heard and asks what she did to him, and he assumes that the lady could have knocked him out. However, without waiting for an answer, he says that he is sorry. At this time, the young master thought that Perry was going to leave anyway, and he couldn't keep her near him all the time. Julian thought that he needed to calm down. The main character thought that she needed Julian, but he was not in her. And what happened yesterday was just a side effect of the love potion. The girl understands that this is just a mistake and thinks that she does not need to pay attention to this, since the gentleman will soon forget her. However, Perry doesn't understand why, but she feels disgusting, and this is the first time she has felt this way. The girl invites Lion to pack his things. Hearing about this, the guy was surprised, because he did not think that they would leave here so quickly. Leon, screaming, says that there are still 3 whole days before the end of the festival, and therefore they can have a very good time. Hearing this, the lady asks what's wrong with this. The chief servant explains that firstly, there's a lot of delicious food here, and secondly, there are a huge number of demons, and therefore it will be easier for the young master to find an assistant and life partner. And thirdly, the fireworks festival will begin tonight, and couples absolutely love it. Leon claims that perhaps it is at this time that the young master will meet his soulmate. And at this time, the guy thought that he was very happy here and liked it, and he would stay here for a few more days. Hearing this, the main character thought that there was some truth in this. However, she needs to think a little. The girl says that they will end up leaving tomorrow. Hearing this, Lion was very happy and said that she should remember this, because she promised. The chief servant says that if they have decided everything, then he can probably go already. However, the main character tells him to stand and be close to her. And when they arrived at the young master's room, she knocked on the door and announced that she was already entering. When she opened the door, she saw a shirtless young gentleman, and his young body turned out to be very attractive. The gentleman asks in surprise why she came only now, and he thought that he had been thinking about her all the time and was waiting for her arrival. The girl explains that she thought he was still sleeping and therefore decided to look at him. The main character realizes that she really likes him and says that she will go, buy breakfast, and invite him to wash and go out. Having left the room and closed the door after what she saw, she could not come to her senses. Leon looked at the girl and thought that something was wrong. Perry thought that her heart almost stopped, and she didn't understand what it was. Sitting at the table, Leon looks at the food and says that creamy carrot stew is food for animals, and he asks if he looks like a hare. The main servant doesn't want to eat it, and he claims that other demons feed on other people's energy, and he doesn't understand why he shouldn't. The gentleman replies that Perry took care of their breakfast, and therefore he invites Lion to close his mouth and eat in silence. Hearing this, the chief servant says that his master is now shutting him up because of the potion, and he claims that he thought that Julian was in the know. When the main character heard this, she thought that Leon was restless. The young master says that he said everything correctly, and he knew about everything. Hearing this, the main character was surprised and asked what he was talking about. Julian claims that he is talking about the drink. After all, only children have no idea about its properties. However, he does not understand how he will get married soon. The head servant looks at them and asks about something between the two of them last night. At this time, the gentleman answers, yes, but the girl objects and says no. Looking at them, Lion says that he understood everything. Perry claims that nothing of the kind happened. However, the young master says quite the opposite. Julian looks at the main character and says that something happened that cannot be forgotten, and he understands that these feelings, which he has never experienced before, can fill him for the rest of his life. Walking along the main street, the girl walked forward a little, and at this time, Leon asks the young master if this is true. When the lady looked around, she thought that the conversation was about her, but she did not understand what they were whispering about. She looked at the guys and thought that their conversation was not similar, but yesterday. And if that's the case, she doesn't have to worry about it. Suddenly, a woman with red hair runs near the girl, and she hears screams to stop her. The lady who was running away suddenly fell, and at this time the gentleman asks what happened, because he does not understand who it was who fell. The main character looked at the girl and thought that she might be trampled if she didn't get up. Without thinking for a long time, Perry walked up to her and picked her up from the ground. She pulled the unfamiliar girl to her feet. The unfamiliar lady felt Perry's power and, screaming, asks what she allows herself, and she suggests immediately taking your hands off her. Suddenly, a man runs up to them and says that the lady should not let her go because this girl is a pickpocket. The main character grabbed the lady by the neck, and at this time the girl with red hair asks to let her go. The man, screaming, turns to her so that she quickly returns his money and calls the red-haired girl a thief. The main character says that he has stopped screaming and invites him to calm down. She turns to the man and tells him to stop yelling. Suddenly, a group of young guys run up to them, screaming that they didn't touch their sister. At this time, the main character thought that there was some kind of mess here, and she didn't understand what was going on. A boy with blue hair holding a stick in his hand invites them not to touch his sister. However, suddenly the young guy felt what magic you were, and he does not understand what it is, because he cannot move. The main character thought about what this means. The festival always goes this way, and she doesn't want to be here anymore. Seeing all this, the young master asks the lady if she is going to finish them all off. However, the main character replies that she is a doll, not a killer. Julian says that if he were in her place, he would have taken their lives. And at this time, the young guy screams that they are monsters and tells them to let his sister go. The lady looked at the young man and thought that he was brave and courageous. However, it is rare to find a brother who is so protective of his sister. Perry looked at the boy and asked if he had time to wake up twice. However, Julian explains that demons mature dramatically after each awakening, and so they have no such thing as adolescence. But this boy looks less than 16 years old. At this time, the young master looked at the girl, and he saw that she was staring somewhere, and he asked her about it. Julian thought that the girl was interested in this boy and asked if she liked him. And the lady asks him if such a brave boy would not be useful to them. The young master agrees with her, but says that this guy's energy is so weak and demonic that he can barely feel it. He says that even training here will be useless, because this guy can't even be called a demon. Hearing this, the guy says that he is not a demon. Hearing this, the sister, screaming, turns to Miel and invites him not to talk like that. The boy with blue hair claims that he is not a demon and asks who this gentleman is to reproach him. Julian says that the guy lives in the world of demons, enters their land, and at this time he says that he is not one of them. The young master looked at the guy and asked who he was then, and maybe he is a man. Julian suggests to the guy that it would be better if he answers, because he is currently thinking about how to send them all here to another world in a more sophisticated way. The young master turns to the guy with blue hair and says that if he tells the truth, he can stop the bloodshed. Hearing this, the man who a few minutes ago was shouting that this girl had robbed him immediately changed his tactics and said that he had no business here at all. However, the master predliget Zatknutsia is his, since he has already caught his eye. At this time, the main character thought that the gentleman was really planning to kill everyone, and she remembers that this has already happened when he was in the Duke's castle. Perry looked at Julian and reflected on the fact that he remained the same ruthless child. However, the girl thought that he had already changed, but after hearing the words, she changed her mind. The main character does not want to believe that her master Mochet Bite may be a cruel demon, and she thinks about the fact that she gave him little time in order to raise him a little kind. And the girl doesn't understand when this changed, and she remembered that night again. Suddenly, the guy gained courage and screamed that they were human, and he says that since he told the truth, the master should let him go. Julian used his strength and lifted the guy above the ground. He says that an ordinary person is not allowed to endure their power without a special earth or the help of another demon. He asks the guy if he believed that the human race does not live in this world for no reason. The young master asks where Leon is. Hearing his name, the servant says that he is here and did not even think about escaping. Julian asks him if he has heard that they claim to be human. Leon smiles and says that he is surprised that people are able to resist demonic energy, and he sees such people for the first time, and for him it is interesting. The main servant comes closer to the blue-haired guy and asserts that if he is truly a man, then can he prove it. However, the guy got very worried and offers to wait, screaming that he lied since they are demons. Leon approaches the guy and picks him up, and at this time quietly asks if he will become his boyfriend. Hearing this, the guy was surprised, and a blue field formed in the air around him. The chief servant at this time claims that he also needed to prove this, but he guessed. But now he was definitely convinced that this guy was a half-breed. Hearing this word, the main character was surprised. After all, she had already heard this name. The lady recalls that when she was still a human, there were many of them. And in those days, nature was capricious, and the land was difficult to cultivate, and constant natural disasters. Coupled with the small number of humanity, this most likely led to extinction. And so, for their own survival, people decided to borrow the strength and skills of other races through incest. The main character could not even imagine that after so many years their descendants would be hiding, living in the world of demons. The girl asks if this boy is a fairy. Hearing the question, he answers that no, and claims that he is just a demon. The lady looked at the guy and said that before that, he was saying something completely different, and she wants to find out when he is telling the truth and when he is lying. After all, she is interested in why the guy is confused in his answers. The guy with blue hair realized that he could no longer get out of this situation and, screaming, said that he had made a mistake and was very worried at this time. However, the main character asks if he is serious. After all, it seems to her that the guy speaks before he thinks. However, she invites him to look into her eyes and tells him that the truth cannot be hidden from her. At this time, Julian turns to Perry and asks her if he should rip out his tongue. The gentleman says that he heard that the lands of the Demon King are full of half-bloods, and they quite often wander through dark corners and hide from demons in the hope that they cannot be distinguished. Julian says that he never thought he would meet one of them right here. After all, usually these people most often hide from demons and try not to get into their sight. The young master turns to Perry and asks her what they should do. And he says that he is interested in what the lady thinks about this and whether she can advise him on something. Hearing this, the main character was surprised. After all, she thought that only the young master could make this decision, and the girl thought that it was an honor for her because he takes into account her opinion and maybe he trusts her. Perry remembers that so little time has passed since he woke up, and the young master changed his tactics because he became cheerful. The main character thought that, in general, these children were not trying to harm them, and if not the man who screamed that they were thieves, then they would never have noticed these guys. She remembers, moreover, when she was a human, half-bloods were one of the few who helped her. The girl thinks that if these guys also have incredible strength, then at the moment Julian ascends the throne, these children will be able, if anything, to help him. The girl understands that if she helps them now, they will one day answer her the same way. Perry turns to the gentleman and says that it is too crowded. She looked at the guy with blue hair and said that the guys clearly don't want anyone to know about their true nature. Seeing the worried guys, the main character looks at them and asks if she is right. At this time, the guy felt a little confidence in her words and in response agreed with her. Butler, Perry tells Lion to do something about this booth, because many curious people have gathered around them and want to watch it as a performance. Suddenly, a guy with blue hair asks in surprise what that just happened. After all, this is his first time seeing this. Leon explains that with his powers, he simply changed their memories. The main servant, Govorit, Chto Esli, they will begin to try to remember what happened. Then each time completely different thoughts and images will spin in their heads. He turns to the guy with blue hair and asks if he understands. However, the guy with blue hair says that he has a name and his name is Miel. Leon explains that he knows this, and he still has an excellent memory, but he again calls the guy a half-breed. Hearing this, Miel got angry, but without saying a word, thinking that it would be unnecessary if he had to prove something to them. At this time, the main character says that Leon usually does not contact someone if he does not want to drain his energy. Hearing this, Miel is surprised and asks if Lion is the demon of nightmares. The lady asks that he didn't even suspect that he almost became his prey. The guy with blue hair, Miel, was very surprised and asks Odie if this is so. He probably wanted to feast on it. These words came as a surprise to the guy because he felt like a fish on a hook. Miel says that now it is clear to him why such a strange feeling suddenly came over him, as if he was losing something. Julian reports that it seems to him that this guy is slow-witted, and he asks the guy if he needs a head on his shoulders just for beauty, because there are a lot of things in the world that he should have learned to separate at that age. Hearing this, Miel wonders why, and at that time his sister calms him down. The main character reports that they are already there, and reports, and the two of them go with them, and Lion remains outside. Entering the room, a girl with red hair says that she doesn't understand anything. Miel thought that it was a very nice house, and he had never been in one like this before, and the sister asks why they took them with them. Julian replies that it is Perry's decision, and he only agrees with her. The young master looked at the lady and said that these guys are now in her hands. Noticing the boy's worries, Julian, turning to Perry, says that she can at least kill them or leave them alive, and he doesn't care because he will accept any of her choices. The main character turns to them and asks if they would like to work for the young master. Heard this, she was surprised because she had never even dreamed of such a proposal, and she asks if she offers them. However, the doll does not allow her to finish and replies that she is not offering work, but slavery. Hearing this, Meal screams and says, "What if they live like tramps?" and asks why they should immediately become slaves. The sister tells her brother to calm down, and she asks what will happen if they refuse. The main character claims that there will be death, and she asks what is the point of living further if they are already in danger all the time, and in the end will die not even of their own free will. The lady gives them some time to think, and then asks what their answer is. The girl doesn't know what to answer, and she asks who the lady is. The main character replies that she is a doll, and she advises them to make a decision as soon as possible, because she and the young master still need to have time to watch the fireworks. At this time, Perry thought that there was something wrong with her body, and that it was behaving somehow differently. The girl understands that her body is not able to withstand this force. After thinking a little, Devushka s Rizhimi Volosami, he says that they agree. Hearing this, the brother asks in surprise why. However, she calms him down and says, "Don't worry, because everything will be fine." The girl bows before the gentleman and says that her name is Rosina. The main character reveals that her name is Perry, and she is the young master's butler. She says that the demon of nightmares left outside is called Leon. The lady says that in front of them now is the son of the demon king Cordell, Julian, Iona, and she asks to call him young master. Hearing this, the guys were very surprised, because they could not even imagine that they would serve the demon king. The main character explains that they should follow 3 rules, and first of all, always obey orders. Secondly, tell only the truth. And thirdly, accompany the young master. At this time, Perry thought that these guys would become a huge strength and support for Julian. After all, sooner or later she will return to the world of spirits. After meeting the guys, the main character informs the young master that the guy will go with them. Hearing this, Julian was surprised because he did not understand why they needed him. However, the lady explains that she just wants it. At this time, the main character thought that if she were to make Meal an assistant, then as early as possible, and while she was still here with the master, she thought that the master should get used to it and expand the circle of his servants. However, Julian doesn't understand why they need this one, and he asks Perry if she likes this boy. The lady turns to the guys and says that if they need to take some things with them, they can go and do it now. The guy with blue hair wonders if she will just let them go, and he asks if she is afraid that they will run away or may not return at all. Perry says that she doesn't worry about it because Tokabi's light will always accompany them, and even if they need help, he will do it. Hearing this, the guy says that he personally has nothing to collect. The lady says that since they don't have a lot of things with them, that's great, and she looks at the guy and claims that he will share her room. Hearing this guy was surprised and addressed her casually. Julian says that he does not agree, and he suggests that the boy live in Perry's room, but then she should move in with him. Heard this, she was surprised, because she doesn't understand why he suddenly made such a decision. The girl thought that she would be awkward with the gentleman, and she did not understand whether she would feel comfortable being next to him. Julian looks at the main character and asks her if there is a special relationship between them, and at that time, I thought that he would always be next to her and see her. Perry, hearing this, remembers the words of the head butler that he warned her that the young master was too obsessed with her. However, the lady thought that everything was fine, and she should just be a little more careful towards him. At this time, the main character does not understand how to transport them all to the castle, and she thinks that it's definitely impossible to let them go alone. The girl thinks that if Leon is sent with them, they will have no security left, and at the same time, she understands that security is not so important to them. Perry asks the young master if he would like to make a soul oath. Hearing this, Julian asks the lady if she wants it. However, the girl explains that he did not understand her. After all, she meant the oath not with her, but with the half-breeds. The lady explains that if they swear allegiance to him, they can never betray him. After all, half-breeds are noble people, and she believes that this is a good decision. However, Julian objects and says that this decision is not good, since the Oath of Souls is concluded only once in a lifetime. Hearing this, Leon is surprised and asks what is going on here, because he only heard the last words and thought that the young master was marrying the butler Perret and asking him about it. The main character claims that this is nonsense and says that it is impossible. Leon states that the Oath of Souls is not usually entered into by the future spouse, and at that time, the lady understood that the oath between husband and wife was the young master's way of keeping her. Perry turns to the young master and asks if he has gone crazy. However, Julian does not take her question seriously and asks if he looks like a psycho. The main character realized that now is not the time to talk about this and suggests talking about it another time. And she thought that she would discuss this issue with him without further ado. After all, outsiders should not know about their relationship. Leon asks the butler if there is any other way to send the children to the castle. The main character says that she has a way, and she pulls out a thing from her bag through which she can contact the castle. The girl remembers that this thing was given to her, and she should use it for another reason. But this time, she understands that this is the only correct decision. Perry addresses the guys and asks them to remember this light in case they are planning something. She explains that this light can both help and protect them. However, children should always remember that someone is watching them, and the lady says that in any case she will be aware of their affairs. Suddenly, with the help of magic, the guys were no longer in the room, and Miel only had time to scream before his sister and his friends were gone. At this time, Leon asks the lady if she trusts these guys. The girl says no, but she assures him that they will be useful in the future, and she has a lot of plans for these guys. She suggests the guy not to worry, since Tokebi's light is with them. Perry looked at the guy with blue hair and asked that she had always wondered why mixed races lived in the world of demons, and not in Middle-earth. However, Miel is silent, because he doesn't know what to answer, and Lion asks the lady if she knows. He says that things have been a complete mess there lately. The chief servant reports that the people of the Empire oppress and sometimes mercilessly kill half-breeds, and that is why many of them move to the demon world. He assumes that these guys probably wanted to live, and that's why they came here. The main character wonders if there is a bad relationship between them. The guy says that it was a very long time ago, and even during his grandfather's youth. Miel says that suddenly, having taken everything away from them, people began to hunt them. And this affected not only the fairies. However, now the elves and dwarves are also drawn into this war. Hearing this, the main character claims that mixed races are under the protection of dragons, and she doesn't understand why they don't intervene. After all, dragons must maintain order in this country. Julian reports that no one has seen the dragons for a long time, and no one even knows where they are now, since the last dragon was seen about 5,000 years ago. Hearing this, the lady thought that it had taken too long, and in that case she was lucky that she had met Cardell just now. The girl understands that besides Julian, only the dragon can leave her, and if she had started looking for him, then who knows how long it would have taken her. Looking out the window, the lady says that it is time for them to go watch the fireworks. However, Leon refuses to go because he is still hungry, and he is now in search of food, and therefore is not interested in fireworks. However, he suddenly changed his mind. Since such a performance only happens on holidays, he thought that he shouldn't miss it. After all, who else can know when he will see these fireworks again? The main character asks Miel if he is coming with them. However, the guy looks at the blue light in surprise and does not understand what it is. The lady explains that this is a special form of light, and if he does not transmit them, then nothing bad will happen to him. And she suggests the guy get used to it. Arriving at the shore of the lake, Leon says in surprise that there are a lot of people here, and if they had come a little later, they would have had to stand and watch. He says that if he weren't here, a place for 3 would have been found much faster. The chief servant wonders where the young master is, and the girl says that it seems to her that he went with Miel to buy food. Suddenly, they heard the servants shouting to get out of the way as Mistress Jane liked this place. At this time, the main character is talking about how soon everything would begin. After all, she is already a little tired, and at this time does he agree with her? Because he is eager to see it. Suddenly, an unknown lady turns to them and says that she is the daughter of a Greek count, and her name is Jane. The girl says that it is better for them to give her a seat as long as she asks for it in a nice way. The main character looked at her and said that they won't do this. Hearing this, Mrs. Jane was surprised because she was not used to accepting refusals. The count's daughter, contact the main character, says that by her appearance alone, she can tell that she is an ordinary litter, no matter how rich she is. Perry replies that she is mistaken, and her words are far from the truth. The lady, turning to the lady, says that she needs to know her place better. The girl replies that if she meant her appearance now, then she will definitely be more beautiful than her. However, she looked at the mistress and said that she also looked quite good. And at this time, Mrs. James screams that she is impudent and tell your servants to put them out of sight." Leon looked at one of the servants and thought that he had a charming face, but he suggested that the butler stand aside this time, since he would deal with them himself. However, the main character says that after all, they were trying to insult her now, and she must deal with it. The servant stretches his fingers and says that she will now beg him in tears for mercy. However, after these words on Uji, he felt nothing more, because the girl hit him so that he lost consciousness. Mistress Jane, when she saw this, became even more angry and asked the servant to stop her. But at this time, Leon stands aside and says that if the lady needs help, then she just let him tell him about it. And in the meantime, he watches as she quickly deals with her offenders. Leon, he doesn't want to agree with this, but he understands that she doesn't need his help. Having laid the servants on the floor, Perry turns to Mrs. Jerry and invites her to finish this, and she says that the lady better leave this place. Hearing this, the lady screams that she is Jane. However, the main character says that she does not see any difference in this, and this name means nothing to her. Mistress Jane is very angry, and she asks the lady if she believes that after this she will have nothing. She says Perry is a vile creature who shouldn't be here. Mrs. Jane may have said many more nasty things, but her conversation was interrupted by a young gentleman who wondered who she was talking about. However, when he did not hear the answer, he drives the lady away. Miel says that demons really are so stubborn, and he wonders if they are always driven away in this way. However, he thought that this lady was very strange, and he couldn't speak to her differently. Having heard this, the main character says that she does not hear respect in his words. However, the guy with blue hair does not understand that he said no. However, not understanding what his mistake is, he asks the lady if she is protecting them. Julian explains that the demon world is a place where everything is decided by force. The young master says that due to lack of strength, anyone can take away what belongs to you. He says that in any case, he does not justify this demoness. The main character reflects on the fact that despite the fact that Julian is the son of the Demon King, his awakening happened quite late. However, many still tried to kill him, even when he was in the lake, because they knew that as soon as he left there, his power would no longer be the same. Miel says that's why he doesn't like demons. After all, those who have power do not always find themselves on the side of truth. Perry invites the young master to try the kebab, and she tries to feed him. However, Julian does not mind eating her hands. He says that it is very tasty for him. The young master looks at the main character with delight, and this time she thought that he was still such a child. But she still hopes that the strange feelings she felt last night will soon leave her mind, and it will never return. Suddenly, Leon tells them to look up the mountain as the fireworks have already started. The main character understands that if she makes a mistake, she begins to feel something. Then at some point it will disappear, exploding like fireworks. The girl understands that if her heart suddenly flutters, she doesn't know if she can cope with it. Suddenly, the main character saw the young master blowing the girl off again. And I thought that he really was stubborn, because this was the 6th time he had behaved so strangely. Perry turns to Julian and says that he is being too rude. She explains that they came here to find him a life partner. But since he behaves this way, they may not leave here for a year, and in the end be left with nothing. Hearing this, the gentleman does not understand why the lady speaks to him like that, and he asks if he was guilty. After all, he doesn't understand why she scolds him for no reason. He asks the young master if he is going to get married at all, and she explains that he must think about this question and give her the correct answer. Julian claims that he will definitely get married, and he even already has a bride. Hearing this, the main character was surprised, and at that time, the young master looked at her and said that he would marry Perry. Hearing this, the girl, screaming, asks how old he is and what he is saying. The gentleman does not understand why he angered the girl so much, and replies that he is 225 years old. The lady asks that if he is already such an adult, then why is he still acting like a child? And the gentleman asks if she wants to talk about it. Julian reports that the average lifespan of a demon is 1,000 years, and therefore he considers himself still young and a demon full of strength and energy. Hearing this, the main character says that this is good, and at that time, I thought that he began to smile more often, and he had no aggression or outbursts of anger at all. The girl remembers that the young master used to always walk around, dissatisfied and angry. However, at some point he became different, and it happened so quickly that she doesn't even understand when it happened. The lady recalls a moment from his past life when the young master was still a child, and he asked the lady not to die because she belonged to him. Perry reflects on what has passed, because not much time has passed, but it seems to her as if it was so long ago. But however, she remembers everything well. And these are the good moments that she spent together with the young master. The main character looked at the sky, which was all glowing from the fireworks, and thought that, probably, everything was because of what had happened between her and Julian. The girl thought that she needed to check the part of her body that was damaged during the use of force. However, Perry's hand always makes itself felt because it hurts and hurts. However, the girl still felt a strange feeling in her chest area, and she had never had anything like this before. Julian turns to the girl and calls her by name, and he asks why she doesn't answer him. And this time, the young master began to worry. After all, he had never seen her like this. The main character thought that this tingling was definitely due to damage. Perry tells the gentleman that she is thinking a little. After all, today is a very cozy evening, and at that time, she has a lot of emotions from seeing the fireworks. Julian grabbed her shoulders and looks at her. And at this time, the girl asks him what's the matter because she doesn't understand that maybe she overheard something important. The young master says that she just looked like a soulless doll, and he had never seen her like this, and asks how she feels or if something worries her. Suddenly, Miel says that the master is mistaken, since such an incredible soul still needs to be found. Hearing this, the main character asks the guy with blue hair if he sees souls, and he claims that he also has such an ability. At this time, Leon asks Miel if he is saying that the butler has a strong soul, and he asks how strong. The guy replies that her soul is so great that he has never met one like it, and this soul is rare and maybe one in millions of years. Leon wonders how long the guy has lived. Miel replies that he has been alive for about 500 years. The head servant asks how old his sister Rosina is. After all, he remembers that the guy said that his sister is older than him. The guy replies that Rosina is not a fairy. Miel, screaming, turns to Leon and tells him not to even think about messing with his sister. Hearing this, the main character thought that this guy was very smart because he immediately understood that Leon was nothing to stand on ceremony with, and you needed to be a little firm with him. The girl stroked his hair and thought that this Miel reminded her of little Julian. However, the guy kicks a little and screams, telling the girl not to touch him. He claims that he doesn't like it when people touch his hair. Julian looked at them and thought that the guy with blue hair was very harmful. The young master sat closer to the girl, and he leaned towards her. The girl looked at him and thought that he wanted her to touch his hair too. She says that the young master has not changed at all since childhood. Julian felt pleasure and says that the lady has not changed either, because she behaves as before and he likes it. The young master says that no matter how much he destroyed her body, and no matter how many nasty things he said, she always remained the same. And he realized this after she remained the same after last night. Watching the fireworks, the young master says that he feels strange, but also unpleasant. Julian reports that sometimes he misses the times when she hugged him and carried him in her arms. After all, these were the best moments from his past life, which he will remember all his life. Perry says she can do it now. However, he says he doesn't need a simple hug. The young master, addressing the girl, says that he longs to possess her completely. He touches her hands and looks intently into her eyes. The main character says that he has no need to worry, since she is already his butler. However, the man claims that this is not what this is about, and she does not understand at all what he is talking about. However, the girl, hearing this, invites the young master to stop, and Julian asks who he is to her. The lady says that for her, he is a young master whom she serves. Julian asks if maybe the sword will kill her, because he is interested in this question. The main character was surprised, because she does not know that she should answer this question, and reports that she must be the first to return. Miel doesn't understand why the lady left so quickly, because the fireworks weren't over yet. And this time, Lion closes his mouth and tells him not to interfere and not ask unnecessary questions. Perry reflects on what she knows, because she's special to Julian. However, she understands that this attachment is not normal. The girl understands that demons love only once and for all. If they find a mate, it will be for the rest of their lives. The lady thinks that Julian will also one day find his companion and forget about her and live happily ever after with her. And she had these thoughts until this moment, but she doesn't understand why. But everything has changed. Suddenly the girl heard the young master calling her. She looked back and saw him and had a strange feeling. However, she understands that she cannot give vent to her feelings. Perry says that she went on this trip to find a mate for the young master, and not to poke him with stupid whims. The girl says that, be that as it may, for her he is just a young master and nothing more. Her caring for him is just her job, and he must understand this. Julian looks at her and agrees with her. Since she says everything correctly, she is his butler and his property. He understands that the girl is doing her job, but insists that she should always be by his side. The young master asks the lady if she needs him, and she must answer him in such a way that he understands everything. Perry looks him in the eyes and says that he should understand, because she is a doll. She explains that she was given life in the usual way, and that she received this appearance not because she wanted it. The girl explains that the only thing she wants is to go back to the spirit world. Julian says that if she is going to go to the world of spirits, then she will not be able to do it without his help. The young master says that no one has seen dragons for a long time, and he is the only one who can finish her off. Julian looks at the girl and claims that only he can do whatever she wants, and even if it concerns death. However, the young master says that she still wants to leave him. And after these words, Julian desperately asks the lady not to leave him alone. Perry calms him down and tells him that she's not leaving him right now. Since they are together now, he shouldn't think about it. The girl explains that she will still have to return to the spirit world, since she cannot be here for a long time. The young master says that he does not want her to leave him, and he will do everything to please her, but so far he does not know how to do this. Julian again asks the girl not to leave. After all, she is very important to him, and she is even more than a butler. The gentleman says that he does not want to let her go. At this time, the main character looked at him as if he were our little master, and at this time she wanted to take him in her arms. Julian says that since she needs him, she must promise him that she will not leave him. At this time, Perry felt a strange energy, and the gentleman claims that he will never let her go. Julian asks the girl not to talk about her leaving. He hugs her tightly and says that they are now connected.